Welcome to the 108 podcast, starring the drunk uncles of White Sox Twitter. He eats 5 McRibs in a single day, looks like John Turturro if he were the victim of a killer bee attack. Beef loaf. He made out with Louise Post while Richard Patrick watched. He's a consumer of fine beers, and he's anti-Paw Patrol. My Sox Summer. And your host. He still thinks the most racist thing in American history was leaving Shaq off the dream team. Terezi E.
Thank you, Cornsey, and welcome to the From the 108 podcast, where we're going to talk some baseball and bullshit. Going to get it started by kicking it over to our special guest this week. Josh Nelson from SoxMachine is here. Josh, how you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you guys so much for having me. I am hashtag 108ing while on the 108 podcast. This is like 108 Inception.
And some high octane.
Oh, it is.
Very high octane.
There's no question.
Beefloaf, how you doing?
You know what? I was sitting here wondering what fucking idiot decided we should record on this day, and then I realized it's me. I'm the fucking idiot who suggested Wednesday, the coldest day that's ever existed in Chicago. So I apologize for that.
I didn't have to leave, so I'm fine with it. It works for me.
Good for you.
My Sox Summer, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Although I sound not all right, I actually sound better than I have like all weekend. So everybody that met up with me at SoxFest, you are hearing a better version of me and probably couldn't hear what I was saying anyway.
Well, a healthier version of you.
Yeah, healthier version.
Not a better version.
Definitely.
Let's not get crazy.
Definitely not a better version. I also want to thank the good fans that we have at SoxFest and all the high fives that my daughter got. She was projectile vomiting on Monday due to some blug that she had gotten. And the funny thing about having a almost 3-year-old is she will tell you, my stomach doesn't feel good. And I'm kind of like, yeah, she's kind of bullshitting. I go, do you want to like lay down on the couch? And she's like, yeah. So she lays down on the couch. She like sits straight up like the Exorcist and like just like puke just starts shooting out of her mouth. And I'm like, oh my God. And then that freaks her out, right? Because like when your 300-pound father screaming, oh my God. And then you have to remember that she's like a small child. And I'm like, no, it's okay. It's not your fault. It's okay. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm puking on the couch. And it's like, don't worry about it because we're getting a new one anyway. So we're good.
I feel like this could have been just the same, like Wally Money's girlfriend telling us the same story about Wally.
Oh, well, yeah.
I feel like it could have easily been.
Wally pukes on doors and walls.
Yeah, I mean it's poor aim, I guess, or maybe really good aim.
Hey, that's what grandfathers do. Okay, that's what I've heard. I'm not a grandfather yet, but I hear that's what grandfathers do.
It comes out both ends for the grandfathers.
I just want to ask you this, my Sox Summer. I saw pictures of Little Miss shortstop with Tim Anderson.
Yes.
And also with Daniel Palka. Who do you suspect is giving her the bug? Which one?
Oh, I mean, Timmy looked like pretty well put together on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Daniel Palka did not brush his hair or do anything. The back of his head looked like he had slept on it or gotten shot with a shotgun, and his hair was just like spread out in the back. Like, he was definitely had a fun night Saturday night, but, like, that guy was, like, boss. I don't, if he was hungover, he didn't show it. Like, he was signing everything. He would have signed, you know, what was that? Was it Talladega Nights where Will Ferrell's, like, signing the face of the baby? Like, he would have signed your baby's face. He would have signed your, whatever. Just throw it out there. So, he was fucking awesome. So,
Terezi, how about you? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I actually this past Sunday I went with Cornsey to the so in Chicago for the SAG Awards. They like a bunch of SAG members get together, and they did it at the Davis Theater up in like Lincoln Square. And so I'm in there, and we're watching them on like a big movie screen, and they're announcing the awards, and people are clapping to the screen, right? And I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. I'm thinking about it in my mind, like, what a bunch of assholes clapping at the screen. And then I thought, I do that every sporting event that I watch at home. I'm screaming at the television and shit, and I'm just like, and I'm looking around at these people judging them somehow. Just the dickhead that I am. So, let's remember, everyone listening to this, that this is a drinking game. And that we have special rules. And the rules for this week are, if My Sox Summer forgets a player, obviously, Or if My Sucks Summer calls one of us, other than Josh, by the real name, assuming Josh's real name is Josh.
Good call, Teresa. Good call.
If Beef Loaf happens to use an advanced metric, you got to take a drink. Or if he coughs into the mic, you got to take a drink.
I'm gonna try to go cough free this episode.
That's gonna be amazing if you do that.
To go on top of this on your advanced metric one, if Josh corrects one of Beef Loaf's advanced metrics, you have to drink, and so does Beef Loaf.
My Sox Summer, can you line me up? Get me lined up right now.
And then, obviously, for me, it's the only two things I ever say. If I swear or if I say, here's the thing, you got to drink. All right. Speaking of drinking, what are we drinking, My Sucks Summer?
All right, so we started off with a Lagunitas Imperial Stout from the good folks over at Lagunitas. They're great. The second thing we opened up, I only brought 2 of these.
Oh, I just took a drink of this. It's fucking amazing.
It's really good.
2 12-ounce cans of Death Star from Revolution Brewing. And it is a stout aged in bourbon barrels. And it is fantastic.
I think it's pronounced Death Star.
I think it's Death.
It's Death Star.
The guy's name is Death. So
Right, but like the Death Star is a thing.
I know what you're fucking saying. It's not that.
Wait, that's the guy's last name?
I'm
gonna go with My Sucks Summer.
The owner's name is
I don't care what they're going for. We'll go with Death. Yeah.
Me and so when we had the opening day party that last year, Rev had their own little booth, like tailgate area, and me and Farmer Matt crashed it, and so we were talking, and of course we had just we've inked our great deal with Baderbrau, so I'm popping off about Baderbrau, and he tells me the owner comes up and tells me Baderbrau fucking sucks, their beer sucks. He's like, here's my card, and I'm like, okay, who's this guy? And it's like, oh, it's the fucking owner. And then it says Death on it, and I'm like, now I get it. Because it was like Cafe Death. I always thought it was Cafe Death.
Yeah.
But it's Death, because that's his name. So that's how I figured it all out.
So the Death Walk sounds a lot, or whatever they call it, the Death Crawl. That sounds way worse than the Death Crawl.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I'm disappointed now.
So now, and then we also have 2 things in the... Oh, Pat didn't grab one. We have 2
there you go.
things
Drink. That is not Beef Loaf's name.
Fuck! Damn it! Like I had a good streak.
That's a good start. We're off to a good start.
Streak going. So we have 2 more in there. Spiteful Brewing. We have a GFY Stout, which should be a flagship here for us. I mean, we say GFY all the time, and a GFY Coffee Stout.
Oh yeah.
So we have those 2 bad boys up in there too. I stopped by. Warehouse Liquors, which is right over by where they had SoxFest. So that's where I got those after I got my haircut.
And My Sox Summer, don't worry about me. I'll drink this down before we get to the next beer.
Okay.
Because I spent the entire day working from home with my daughter and my wife. So I'm ready to have a few cocktails.
And Josh, you
and
brought
Josh brought beer too.
I did. I brought you guys a gift. My girlfriend Kim and I, we went up to Wisconsin on Black Friday. That's typically what we do on Black Friday is after Thanksgiving, we just hop in the car, we go up north, and we don't go to Mars Cheese Castle. I know the MLB Network raves about that place. It's a total ripoff now after they're remodeled. What the thing to do, the Scotty thing to do, is one, you go to the Brat Stop in Kenosha.
Oh, yeah.
And they make really good fresh bratwurst. And they also have Racine Kringles. It's just a Danish, but they're particularly made in Racine, and they're very special, and they're very good. So if you like breakfast... Yes, they come in a circle.
Danish.
Then what you do is you go over the overpass, over to Woodman's.
That's right.
And Woodman's is like a smaller version of Binny's. They got a ton of stuff in there. And that's the thing about Wisconsin versus Illinois. So this summer, as I was telling you guys before we record, this will be my 8th year living in Chicago. And when I moved to Chicago, the culture shock was the liquor stores. Wisconsin doesn't have liquor stores. If you want booze... There's 2 places.
Gas station?
The grocery store or the gas station. Mm-hmm. Of course, Wisconsin has a drinking and driving problem. That's why.
It's a shock.
So that's what we always do. So we always come back like $200, $300 worth of New Glarus stuff. So I had some, so I thought I'd bring it as a gift.
Oh, it's much appreciated. That will not last the night.
Woodman's is the hack, though. You are 100%
Woodman's
correct.
is the hack.
And they're also a grocery store.
Yes.
And they have a shitload of cheese, too.
Yes.
So you can get the same cheese just without the markup prices of the Cheese Castle.
Yes.
Cheese Castle is very like a good novelty until you figure out that it's really not all that special.
No.
So
I think the last time I was at Kenosha was for to go to the dog races.
I thought you were going to say to see Weezer.
Did you go to the Renaissance Fair?
I did not go to the Renaissance Fair. I didn't. Is there a Kenosha Renaissance Fair?
Oh, it's the Renaissance
Oh,
Fair.
shit.
If you go in
unaware.
Chicago and you ask people, have you ever been to the Renaissance Fair? It is the one in Kenosha. It's the one stop before the stop we go to for Woodman's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like 15 or something.
Something like that.
I think the last
yeah.
Wrong,
I
right
remember
by
being
Bond
hungover in
Recreation
Wisconsin
area.
was our
Yes.
Appleton trip, Treasy.
Ooh, yeah, the Appleton trip. I remember we picked up. The one thing that I really remember from that was when I was very drunk, obviously, and I had just eaten a hot dog from because it's like 3 degrees out, but there's still a guy like grilling hot
It's like a
dogs
street
outside
vendor,
of
basically.
Bratz or whatever.
I lived in Appleton before moving to Chicago.
Oh, yes.
I know this guy.
so
Yes.
you know that strip of bars there.
College Avenue.
Yes, yes.
And we go into this one bar right after that is like straight out of the 70s.
Yep, I know exactly
and
that bar. Yep.
Our buddy who lives up there was like, this place is the best because they have this Long Island iced tea special.
Yep.
I've had 74 drinks at this point. And then I'm like, oh, Long Island iced tea is great.
They're on special.
So I walk out. We're walking. We get to the corner, and it's like super icy out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Beef Loaf is just watching me as I have no control, and I'm not falling. I'm just sliding into the street,
It's
and I
almost
just
gliding.
like I
It's
don't
almost
even.
a glide.
I was just standing there, and I'm like looking at him like this with my hands up, like I don't know what's happening, and I'm just like gliding into the street, and then the one other guy grabs me. He's like, "You're gonna get hit by a car." I was like, "I did not have a choice. I did not have a choice in this matter." All right.
Lucky you'll be all loose from all the alcohol.
Let's-
They're probably just, like, kind of
Exactly. Otherwise, you're gonna hurt
It's
yourself.
like one of those fucking things they put in front of stores when they open up. You're like, ah, you're
That's often Treasy.
yes.
That's me when you're driving me somewhere. I mean, my
swooping
spine
onto the
doesn't work
seat.
anymore. I'm just like floating around in the seat.
My sucks summer, it's like the time we were in NWI and we were coming back and we were talking about
Yes.
we're gonna go get tacos, and he wakes up all of a sudden, he's like, "We're getting tacos." I'm like, "No, you're going home.
You are.
Suck Summer and I are getting
We are.
tacos."
That's such a big brother move. It was so funny. It's like, damn. And then you walk sideways into your apartment.
Oh, that was a good day. All right.
All right, fucking A.
Some
We're
White
gonna talk some
Sox
sports.
news. Some White Sox news that affects us directly.
Yes.
Goose Island took over sections 106 and 107.
Yes.
The Sox gave their season ticket holders in those sections 40 seconds
A
notice.
day notice.
Impressive.
Let's talk about this.
How do we want to start this off?
Well, let's start
Actually,
out
you know-
how we found out.
Well, hold on. Let's start with the an outsider's view on this because
call. Yeah.
I want to hear what Josh thinks because it's very possible that we're going to have a very different view on this.
Josh is
than
never
someone
sitting in
that's-
our section again. He's going right to
He's going right to it.
He's going right to the island.
So when we saw the images when they were initially leaked, and I think it was the Daily Herald that tweeted it out that this was happening first. My first thought was about the Craft Cave. And I don't want them to ruin that because that's been such a great experience since they've launched it. And it's really nice when you go before the game and they're, batting practice and you can grab a beer and you can go outside to the patio table and just chill before the game starts. And my fear is that that's not how it's going to work anymore because it looks like based on the pictures, those are people's seats right there.
Right, it's all one thing now, right?
Yeah,
Looks like.
So that kind of sucks. I don't know why you're doing this in sections 106 and 107 out of all places, but whatever. And does Goose Island have a good tie with the White Sox? I always felt like that was more of a Chicago Cubs beer because when you go to a game at Wrigley,
They walk around with
they
it.
walk around with Goose Island.
I think ever since the Budweiser deal, they've been trying to get more Goose Island into the park because there were 312 guys walking vendors last year.
Maybe
but
it's too expensive at Wrigley now with the
it's
renovations and everything they've been doing.
But also the Goose that they brought around last year was he like $11.50 for like a
I think so. I think
a
you're
beer.
right.
And like so,
It was unbuyable. No
Yeah,
one
no
was going to
one's
spend
buying
It might have been
No one's-
it might have been $11.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
so
too,
no
it was too
one's-
high for
I,
sure.
Yeah.
and I understand some people may like Goose Island. I think it's overrated. Out of all the Chicago beers, it's probably one of my least favorites. I'm not a big IPA guy. I'm not a big wheat beer guy. So I pass on that. But if I go to a game at Wrigley, it's like the best beer you can get. So yeah, it's the only thing I drink at Wrigley. That or Budweiser. So I'm curious to see on how it. I'm sure it's going to look cool. But man, if you're going to charge fans $35 to go sit in sections 106 and 107 so they could experience the Goose Island, I think this could be a bad marketing fail. But hey, if the sponsorship money helps net Manny Machado, okay, sweet. The place is great.
Agreed. Fuck it. Yeah, I'll take it.
So, all right, let me come back. Let me go on this one just for a minute. I'll just talk about what I heard. The craft cave is staying the same. There's not going to be anything different. This is straight from the horse's mouth.
Yep. Okay, good.
So he told me this, and he also said that there was only 4 rows of season ticket holders in those sections. So like they didn't have like a ton.
Yeah.
So that was kind of why
I
they
feel
put
like
it
that's
there.
every section.
Well, I mean, honestly, and I mean that's something I'll talk about in a little bit too. It's like those seats are empty at 60% of the games anyway. Like there really is.
Oh, for
it's
sure.
not full. So it's like that's probably a good section to do it.
But for us, though, looking at it, like when people come down to visit, when things get crowded, people would slide into 107
Yeah.
and hang out with us. Can't do that anymore.
Apparently,
This is what it looks
no,
like.
that's true. Apparently, there is a lot of the marketing guys from Goose are big White Sox fans.
Oh,
So a lot
okay.
of the Brewers are White Sox fans. So they've been trying to establish something, I think, with the Sox. And I think that there's, and this is something I was going to ask you because you're smart, Josh. And is that
that was a real sideswipe.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
it
two
was.
on the other side of the table.
But you guys are smart, but not in this area. And I
Okay.
think Josh would know more about this because he like pays attention to more stuff. But like, it seems like Miller Lite is like totally starting
Way to
to
walk it back.
vacate like ballparks. I mean, they want to sell their beer there, but they don't want to have their name on anything, and they don't want to be official anything. And I'm seeing that. You know, maybe them leaving now is opening it up for a Goose Island to kind of come in and do it. And I'd agree with you for the most part that Goose Island, there's not a lot. I'm not into Sophie. I'm not into Green Line all that much. The 312 we were drinking at the season ticket holder event. It's fucking delicious.
I like 312.
As long as you're not.
I am a
like,
wheat beer guy.
if it's a wheat, you know, as long as you're drinking it the whole way. And then they have Bourbon County. Like the Bourbon County stuff is like it's a fantastic beer.
good.
They can't serve that.
Yeah, I was gonna say they can't serve that at a game.
But they do at the United Center. They do Bourbon County
Really?
polls. Yes, they do Bourbon County polls
I
at
think
the United
watching
Center.
the polls a lot better.
So and the Hawks. So they sell it there.
It's necessary.
So it does happen. Like it happens. So there's going to be, from what I heard, there's going to be special beers there to have.
Okay.
They want to. I don't want to get too crazy into it because I don't. You know, who knows? But yeah, it seems promising to me.
I'm gonna start lining up a funeral home to sponsor the 108 Bourbon County Stout Day.
They're going to be like $15. You know, I mean, they're not going to be cheap, and they're probably
It's gonna be the last day I drink, so it's fine.
Well, plus, like that's not a great beer to drink like in the middle of the summer either.
But it's
Like,
a great one in April and late September.
Fuck yes, it
For
is.
sure.
And God
Absolutely.
forbid should we ever see October baseball again on the South Side. But back to your Miller Coors, you are right because there's a lot of outcry out of Milwaukee about Miller Coors deciding not to renew and continue to keep the sponsorship for the Brewers Stadium, Miller Park. And it was only $2 million a year for that
damn.
sponsorship.
That's so
I feel
cheap.
like we could go fund
was-
that.
And everyone
I think-
knows it as that name. That's
Right,
what's
yeah.
weird about it. You know,
I
it wasn't they patched it on after 20
And
years or something.
it's
and
so
everyone
connected
else
to
calls
that
it something
city.
else. Exactly.
It
It's
is.
so insane.
And
It's like us with
It's-
U.S.
it-
Sailor.
it just,
Everyone knew.
It just sounds like out of Milwaukee. I think you're right. Like Miller just doesn't want to. Miller Coors, I should be specific.
Right.
Doesn't want to carry that hefty price of sponsorships anymore. And a lot of people are wondering, as a business, are they the ones getting hit the hardest by craft breweries?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe.
Because in Wisconsin, the craft brewery scene has just taken off. It's been a great thing because it's a great beer state, But before I moved to Chicago, it was Miller. Everybody drank Miller. Spotted Cow was a treat. Mm-hmm. That was Wisconsin's beer, but there wasn't a whole lot of microbreweries and stuff going on. But now it's all over, especially Milwaukee. They got a ton of microbreweries there. So it is interesting to see on how it's really shifted, even for the White Sox and now to the Brewers, that Miller Lite has this great presence and now not so much. But now you do have Goose Island that wants to step in. So I could see it being a really good thing for the White Sox. We'll see how the fan experience, though, is.
Yeah, and I think, okay, so I'll just, you guys want to go first?
Keep
going.
Keep going.
Start yelling.
Keep flowing, baby.
I have some prepared words. I said that I'm glad that the Sox and Goose Island know where the party's at, and that's why they put it next to us. And I can't wait to see Wally Money biff down the stairs and end up in one of the water tanks. Because that's going to be fucking hilarious. And you know it's going to happen.
100%.
Because that motherfucker can't walk on sidewalks. He's definitely not going to be able to walk next to a water
My Sox,
tank.
what do you think? Nick Clark's first game, he ends up taking a bath?
Nick Clark, we got to make sure Nick Clark doesn't drown in the
water.
in the little moat.
He's gonna drink the water and wash his balls in it. And then he's gonna be like, I tried to get a flare in here to celebrate and I can't do it.
That's right.
The soccer hooligans are crazy. And Josh, I'm not directing this towards you, but I really hate the negative Sox fans, in this case, and I'm not saying that you're being negative. The Sox go out of the way to create something that's really nice, right? Put some money into the park,
You know what?
to make it look good.
All right.
Hold on.
I'm going to stop you in a second because
All right.
I think I don't like where you're going with this.
I don't either.
It's it's so nice and everything.
I don't either.
I don't want to take total offense to things, right? And I don't want to say that me and B-Flow for some notable guys, but probably two of your more notable Mexican fans sit right there, and you built a wall in front of us.
Yes.
It's a water wall.
You're trying to keep the other fans from us.
How does that help? You built a wall and a moat,
The fuck? That's ridiculous.
so that if we do go over in those seats, then you could throw wetback at us. I get what you're going with. I got it.
No, first of all, I don't.
Good retort.
Listen, if I can sneak into the, do you want the coffee stout or just the regular stout?
Let's split a coffee.
All right, let's do that. If I can sneak into, the Chicago, what the fuck is it called?
Sox Bar and Grill.
If I can sneak into that, you can sneak into Goose Island. Okay.
Okay, so let me put this visual out there.
I walked over
you
the
flipped
wall.
the fence, okay?
I walked over the wall.
Yeah. If I come barreling over the wall, I'll be allowed to stay? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I won't be held captive?
I don't think it's going to be because of your heritage that you won't be allowed to stay.
I don't know. Will be unclear to me.
I mean, they wouldn't let me in the bar, and it wasn't because I'm white. It's because I was fucking hammered. But no, so I tend to focus on negative, the negative things, and that's not a good thing. But people are bitching about it. Oh, it's all these rich hoity-toity fucking people that are going to be there, and blah blah blah. And it's the big thing to me is that 60% of the games, those seats are fucking empty, so it doesn't even fucking matter. Put something there. That's fine. It's going to fill up the other portions of the section of the park. It's going to appear we were talking about in our chat. It's going to make the park look fuller if you lose 300 some seats out in the outfield like that.
So
they're going to come to our section.
one thing on the who's going to be sitting in those.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned with some pop collar dude is going to be sitting there. I don't care about that. What I'm more concerned with
Yeah, those guys are pussies.
is when I don't know if you guys, you guys all
Sox
travel
fans.
to other parks, right? I always look for a section like that when I'm looking to buy tickets at another park, right? We go to KC and they've got a few cool sections like that, and I'm like, oh, can I get tickets in there? And try and get tickets in there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be a little bit annoyed by the amount of opposing fans that are gonna be in there.
Good point.
Yeah,
So
they're on top of us.
especially if they're these are gonna be expensive season tickets. I feel
They're not
people
cheap.
buying expensive season tickets right next to where we're at aren't buying them because they're I'm going to go sit in these seats all the time. They're buying them to resell them.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Right? And so we're going to be sitting next to a lot of Twins and Indians fans.
Yeah.
And I don't like those guys.
Do you think that I would say as a guy that is going to buy tickets to resell, are you going to drop the initial coin on those tickets? Because it's not cheap. It's I can't remember what the figure was, but it was pretty expensive.
You can buy season tickets there?
Yeah, that's what some of those rows are.
But it was like $10,000 or some shit, like a seat. It wasn't like it wasn't like a pretty.
My Sox Summer, I predict those seats are going to be empty a lot.
Yes, they are. And I also predict that we're going to get the nod every once in a while. Be like, hey, come on over
And be on this side. Be on this side of the wall.
Yeah, but I'll tell you.
Hey. Because some of the good ones.
We're some of the good ones. Exactly.
We're gonna take.
I honestly, when I saw the news, I actually I was reading and I looked at the thing and it's got like the kind of like it's barriered off, right? And I'm just kind of sitting there. I wanted to call the Sox like Frank Costanza and be like, "You're not keeping me out of Florida."
Josh, you know what else was funny? And I was telling these guys is at SoxFest as. We talked about like how we found out about it and we saw that the Herald broke the story. Well, White Sox season, like the ticket salespeople were handing out calendars. It's the month of fucking April. Like when you look at April, it says Goose Island.
All right, so they got this knocked down.
It wasn't even like somebody like snuck in and saw it or it was wrong. It was in their marketing materials. Like they were supposed to announce it Friday. Apparently there was something that went down and like Goose was like, hold on, let's wait to Monday. And so they're like, okay, guys, you better get ahead of this and call all the season ticket holders because it's gonna come out. Like it was so funny because I was talking to these guys. I'm like, this is in the fucking calendar they're giving out to everybody that walks into the social lounge.
It's weird though. What you guys bring up is like they're trying to make this sort of like a trendy place to go and sit in seats. But they have the wrong ballpark for that, man. We're more lounge acts.
Bullshit.
We're more the underground spot that it's secret and you don't really know about it.
Dude.
When you raise the price, see what you want to do is lower the price for some of this shit and make it the underground place to hang out. If the Goose seats were cheaper and there was some sort of drink package deal in there, then you would have something there,
like an all-you-could-drink type thing.
Exactly. Now that would make some sense.
Would be awesome. Like if that was a section where it was like, I don't know, like a $50 seat, but you got like five drinks or something, right? So it's almost about the same price.
Yeah.
But it was 5 like 312s. Like people would flood to that section. That would pack that section. It'd be crazy. But
isn't there like a fan though that sees ticket price and says, okay, inherently that is not. I don't want to go sit in the $7 seat because it's a $7 seat. I'd rather sit in the 15.
Yeah, I think that's what Beefloaf's saying. That's not a Sox fan.
But it is though. That's the fucking thing. I go, and that's the one thing that I hear over and over on the Facebook is like all these guys saying, I don't want to sit in the upper corner seats. I want a decent seat. It's like,
but they're not going to pay for that seat. Like that seat costs what it costs to sit behind a dugout or sit closer to where Pete Hands.
It's true. I mean, listen.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're planning that there, but you need some sort of hitch to get people in. And this isn't Wrigley. Like, you don't have the fan base that is willing to throw down that kind of money. You know it. You just know those people aren't here.
You know what this would be good for, though? Bachelorette parties, birthday parties.
For sure.
Because you guys have that Xfinity bar right there.
Yep.
So you have your bar crawl right there. You can go to the craft cave. You can go upstairs to your seat. It looks like Goose Island's going to have a big bar up there like Medela
a little
does.
railroad
on
bar.
the left.
Yeah. And then Red's got their thing in left
zone. I mean, you get toasty.
And now, if we get that Pink Monkeys sponsorship in 108, they got the whole trifecta right there.
They'll work it all in for the party.
We need a Pink Monkey stage. We need a Pink Monkey Island up there.
We'll knock out a couple rows of seats. We'll get Billick in there, kick them out.
Exactly.
And then we'll just kind of have like a little platform there.
This is the non-family section.
Yes.
Guaranteed rate field.
Well, I think that was I put that good on the Sox in Goose Island that they were like, this area is already fucked. So go ahead, put all the drunks there. Like that's
I think
we've got a bar there. We got the 108 there. Just slam it in there. Why not more drunks there?
And
we could just kick them right out of the stadium, right down the ramp.
I feel like we were definitely used as a selling point. They're like, hey, these guys spend whatever amount of money on beer, whatever. If you have a waitress that's kind of close by that can give them beer, you're going to sell this amount of money of beer because they don't get up and move.
Well, see, this is why I brought up Lounge X, and this is why I would bring up Double
faithful
Door.
to our vendors, all right? I don't go...
If our vendor's there.
That's true.
I mean, he was gone for 2 fucking months last year. I mean, no,
we were the only ones at the game,
that's fine.
so
It's okay. Like, I'm glad that you can raise your family and go on vacation more than I do. But anyway, it is good that you guys, that like you were not there.
But it just feels like we're being gentrified. We're being gentrified. That's why I brought up Lounge X.
Guys,
that's why I bring up Double Door.
You guys are looking
exactly what you said, my son. They
way.
saw the, and this may sound egotistical, but they saw the popularity and rebuilt their fucking condos right on top of us.
But what always happens? What happened to Lounge X, right? They said, shit, get Lounge X out of there. We'll turn it into something better. We'll make all this money. You know what it is now? It's a fucking music venue now.
Exactly. Yeah, right, exactly. They blew all that shit out of there. It became what it was.
My final thoughts. I'm Jerry Springer in it right now. Like, as a fan perspective, I really like it. I feel like it elevates our park. I like seeing a major investor like Goose Island come in and spending money and investing in the park. I think it kind of puts like what the Sox are doing now, like from a baseball perspective, like into a professional perspective. They're like, okay, Sox might have something going here, and they have like something that's going to happen. So let's like fucking put some money into it now, get ahead of it because it's cheap right now. If you're buying Sox stock, it's fucking low, right? Yeah. And it has a fucking huge upside, right? So I think that'd be great. Now, the one thing we haven't talked about at all, they're going to have a huge goose head in the fucking outfield right in front of the fucking train car.
Now, see, this I really like, and here's why I love it.
It's going to be awesome.
Because Daniel Polka's going to hit
He's going to smash the shit out of that motherfucker.
When he breaks the beak off of that goose, it's going to be the greatest moment in White Sox history. And they're going to have to leave it broken.
I was going to say, the people that are injured underneath it, that's okay. They're collateral damage to a great movie.
I proposed a question to both the White Sox and Goose Island, asking what the repair budget is from this, because I feel like Daniel Polka is going to make it his mission to destroy that fucking goose. And maybe Magada too. Who knows? You know, like...
That's why they're stacking lefties. That's why they're stacking lefties.
But we are going to be on TV a hell of a lot more too with that, because there's going to be some bikini chicks over there, and then we're going to sneak in. We're going to be like in the back with our titties. We're going to get on TV. It's going to happen. So no, I like it. I feel bad for the 107 and 106 guys that are season ticket holders.
Yeah, that blows.
But
they should come to the 108.
Come to the 108.
And we saw some of them on Twitter.
We got T-shirts, we got hats, we got koozies, we got fucking hoodies. Come over. We got all that shit.
You guys could help us steal the goose head. Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to say that we were going to do that.
No, we didn't do that.
All right,
not yet.
Let's get to even more drinking. Let's talk about the SoxFest after party, and let me first thank Josh because. Well, we're just drinking our faces off. Josh is like holding down all the round tables and everything.
He's doing all the work, basically.
Yes.
And then it comes like, all right, we're going to get the 108 guys up there. And everyone is just shit-faced, including Steve.
Well,
NWI Steve was incredibly shit-faced.
Yes, he was.
Steve doesn't know what a microphone is.
And Josh is just herding cats. And I was just... It's not the first time he's done it. I mean, he dealt with me and Johnny Nani at that one. So, like, I'm just continually impressed. And, like,
the full 108 this time.
The most impressive thing, Josh, was that we went home with all of the sound equipment that we brought. Like, I totally thought I was going to leave at least 4 of my 3 microphones.
It's always a success after a night out when you come home and you have everything you intended to have.
Right? I woke up in the morning and then like ran over to the bag. I was like, "Oh shit, the bag's here. That's a good start." And I was like, "Okay, I got my stuff." So, Josh, how'd you like it, man?
No, it was an absolute blast. And for all those that are listening to this that went, thank you guys so much for coming. The weather was terrible. That snow that we got took me an hour and 20 minutes to go from the north side of Chicago down to Buffalo Wings and Rains. But for all those that made it, all those that came from the Hilton Chicago, I hope you guys had a lot of fun. It looked like a lot of people had a lot of fun. Congrats to the trivia award winners. That was not easy. great job, Beef Loaf, of writing
you,
up
buddy.
those questions. When I first saw them, I'm like, I think I can get 3 of these out of 11, so I'm not going to win.
Slim Mick asked me to help him because he's a baseball fan, but he's a Cubs fan.
He's a
Yeah.
trivia
and so
guy,
he's
too.
and he's
also a trivia guy,
And he's
yeah.
like, "Hey, give me a hand with this." And I looked at him like, "Pfft, "I got nothing. I got nothing. You're on your own, buddy.
Yeah,
Put Jerry Owens in there. I don't know."
There you go, Jerry Owens. But you know,
That's
it was
good.
great to meet Clinton Cole, who's taking over Future Sox. That's
That's
a big.
awesome.
That's a big role to step in, and I wish him the best of luck. And then James Fegan. I mean, somebody that has so much credibility came to our after.
Yes. And Josh, he couldn't have been nicer. Like,
he's
he's
awesome.
talking to all of us, and we're drunk animals, and he is just such a sweetheart. And like, even when he was leaving, he came up and individually thanked us for inviting him. Just what a great guy.
I told him he made sweet love to the English language, and he was like, and Jim was standing right there too, and Jim kind of was like, "Oh," and Fegan was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yes." I go, "You make love to it." I go, "We just fuck it here."
Wow.
Hey, but you know what? Though? Like, I mean, like, you see a guy like that come and you kind of figure like he'll come do the round table and then he'll just jet
Yeah.
and then you won't really get a chance to talk to him or anything. And he was hanging
No,
around, he was
no,
talking
yes.
with everybody. It was cool.
It's created jealousy because I invited more Chicago media folk, and they're like, but now they're like, James Fegan showed up.
Right.
I will attend next year. Like,
He was a definite big sell.
we may have like, we're gonna have to maybe have like best of Chicago media roundtable.
Yeah.
Like we
Make
get.
them fight for, make them pay to come on.
We could just have the beat reporter. All of them can show up. We got Merkin come and show. You know,
We're gonna need a bigger
James
boat.
Fegan. We need a bigger
So, yeah,
What
boat.
we'll do is we'll just have those guys on the panel, and then the questions will come from us, and we'll just berate them with nonsense. Where's the best burrito from?
How do you like your wings? Boneless or bone in? It's bullshit, Fegan.
But Treasy, you're totally right. James Fegan stuck around. P-Knowles and I gave Jim and James Fegan some shit because they haven't seen Sopranos. We won't give you any shit, Josh, on this show, but you've also not seen the show.
I saw the pilot.
You saw fuck. So we're giving him a little shit. You
Really?
know? But he was a good sport about all that stuff. I even asked him before the panel. I asked him, you seem to be getting razzed by some of these more senior reporters. Is there a younger beat reporter coming up that you can give the business to? And he was just like, I don't know. Like he answered it very like he wouldn't do that to somebody. But I don't trust him. I think the next young beat reporter that comes up, he'll fuck with him on Twitter.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. Like that's part of the joy of reading Twitter is people fucking with each other.
Yes.
The great thing about James, though, is that he comes from White Sox Twitter. He comes
Yes.
from
Yeah.
the White Sox blogosphere. So to see him have this type of success is really cool. And that he is one of us, and he doesn't look down upon the White Sox blogs like some beat reporters do. It's all right. It's okay. I mean, whenever they need story ideas, they can just simply rip them off of our website 2 days later and call it their own.
Sounds about right.
It's happened more than once, but
We need more drinks than Josh. We gotta start putting,
Yeah, I mean,
That's for the after show.
we gotta
We'll get
start
that
putting
on
names
YouTube,
to all these stories.
I forgot the wrestling mask though, so we can't say like this is not Josh Nelson. This is Nosh Jelson.
oh man,
But you're totally right about that, Josh, because I mentioned to James, I said the only reason I have a subscription to Athletic is because I want to read his columns, and that's literally it. You too, right? Am I saying summer?
I signed up and they had the Black Friday sale because it was like $2 a month or something. It was like something ridiculous. But I also I had to use my free trial to read the Polka story because we were prominently featured in it. So I was like, I have to read this, and that's made me go, why the fuck am I not paying for content? Because especially at something like that, which was $2 a month or something.
Yeah.
I'll definitely pay for that for something like that because it's a well written article and it does provide insight and reminds me why. Hey, this is why you're actually listening and watching sports.
and it's not propaganda.
No,
he's doing
right.
he's doing a very good job in the last couple of weeks, especially from SoxFest. It's not a false narrative, Rick Hahn, to say that because we haven't spent money in free agency doesn't mean that we will. You have never spent money in free agency. So you need to prove it. That doesn't mean that's a false narrative. You don't get that a lot from beat reporters.
It's true.
And I probably should slow down on the stout drinking.
Fuck that.
No, you're right. I mean, they're incentivized to protect who they can get information
We are,
from.
we are dangerously getting close in the White Sox content world where it's just straight up propaganda.
Oh, I totally agree with
Well,
this.
do you think that's just limited to the White Sox, though, or you just limited this like sports in general, right?
You know, you make a good point. It definitely in baseball.
Yeah.
Definitely in baseball. NBA doesn't seem to care.
No.
Football definitely cares, especially what's been going on in the last 24 hours about what Goodell said about Colin Kaepernick. But baseball, it does seem like more and more it's becoming propaganda. It's rah, rah, rah. There's nothing wrong.
It's America's pastime, bro.
But I think that's why I mean to some extent us and to more of an extent like you guys in Future Sox and the guys that are reporting on the team more than like what we're drinking and shit like that.
Right.
Like that's why it's important because like I think people are like done with listening to the score, especially when you hear the guys on the score when they had the Sox, it was Sox propaganda. Then they got the Cubs, now it's Cubs propaganda.
Everyone loves the Cubs.
They all love the Bulls, even though the Bulls are just shitting all over themselves, right? I mean, like you start to see like I don't want to listen to these guys because they don't have any takes. They're just telling me what the team is telling them to tell us, and that's boring and just awful. And I think that's why like the bloggers and and Twitter and hopefully not Facebook because that's just scary land. But like like we have to talk about that stuff. We have to bring that stuff to light. Yeah. Although I gotta say, one guy who I really respect with his writing. He was talking to Slim Mick, and he was telling Slim Mick how envious he was of his lifestyle, of his softball lifestyle. And I was like, man, P. Knowles, I'm questioning everything I've ever read from you now.
Oh man, you don't even know the half of it. His walk-up song is St. Elmo's Fire.
Wait, what?
First off,
yes.
softball guy walk-up songs.
Softball guy walk-up songs. He worked out. He lifted weights because his like lifetime goal was to hit an actual home run during a softball game, and I think he accomplished it in 2017. And it's one of his proudest life moments, right up there to the birth of his daughter. Oh my god!
We didn't even get into asking questions about SoxMachine yet. We're getting all the good shit already.
Josh, you have seen me, and P. Knowles, hopefully you listen to this. I worked out 0 days and hit a home run. I think the first time I got up to the
Wait. No, I think he's saying like hit it out of the out of the park. Not like what you did, which was probably knock out some drunk guy in left field.
So in California when I started playing in Huntington Beach, they had leagues and we play year round. And I played like the last 4 or 5 years I was there, but you could only use single wall bats, which is like a kind of a big deal. Like it's almost like using a wood bat, because there had been a pitcher that had gotten killed. So no one was nailing balls out of the park anywhere because there wasn't any fences.
This 12-inch?
Yeah, it's 12 inch.
Okay.
But you could get rollers, right? And so that was like one of the I almost hit the cycle like the first game I played.
So you hit one in the gap and it goes forever.
And my brain going,
can I guess
you're actually
you
pretty
missed the
good
triple?
about this.
It was the triple, the one you didn't get?
You want to know what it was?
The
You're
single.
going to be really sad. It was a single.
I am kind of bummed.
Yep. It was fucked up though. And it was like with
the only reason I'm
shitty
bummed is I didn't
Easter
get to see you run out a triple.
Oh god, dude. I was heavy smoking at that point. It was not a fucking great thing.
One of the interesting things about the after party, and this happened when we did the Bader Brown one as well, is the little blogs break off into their own cliques.
Yeah.
Like we're all hanging together up in the front, but like you saw the Future Sox guys, they're like a little gang one spot, and then you got Shy Sox Weekly Crew is another gang over there, and they didn't mix in at all almost. Like you didn't, I don't know if there's any beef or not, but they didn't try. Yeah. Exactly right.
I was thinking Warriors myself. I was thinking what Warriors like.
No one's that tough in White Sox Twitter.
Future Sox, come out and play.
I definitely feel like the New Sox owner are definitely the Furies. They're that fucking creepy. That's who they are.
I agree with that.
Yes.
It's funny because you mentioned that, because I noticed that a little bit, but Brian Balick and I have known each other for a really long time. And
Sorry.
No, we love Brian. We're
I
just
like
fucking
Brian.
around.
No, it's just this after party does give an opportunity for everyone that knows each other to, like, especially with SoxFest, because that's when Brian and I would meet up, would be in the SoxFest like media room.
What do they
Just
have
catch
in
up.
there?
Nothing. It's
Like-
just it was
like-
tables. The
like
media
generic
room was
Oreos,
replaced this year. It
like
was the
some
museum at SoxFest.
Okay.
So their pop-up museum was,
That was awesome,
actually
though.
the media room. So it's
Yeah.
like a million times better than what the media room was. But no, it was just it was great to catch up with him, and yeah, I did see that. So maybe next year, a goal for everyone that's listening to this: mingle. Like, we're all friends. I know we sometimes we think we are competitors, but we're really not.
Not really.
Yeah, we're sort of all working together. Like, we all
Yeah.
don't do the same thing. Like, if you break it down to the individual groups, we're all sort of doing some different shit.
Right.
So it doesn't really, no one's really pushing anyone else out of the way.
Yeah.
Plus, you're gonna have to mingle because by next year, Shy Sox Weekly will have 412 different writers. So there's not going to be room to not be within their bounds.
I'm actually joining them too next year.
Peace
I
out.
have a pretty good opt out just in case. No, I thought the after party was great. It was good to see everybody. It was fun to get on a bus and the driver go, "Hey, is the fucking talent on this bus?" And I go, "I'm assuming you're talking about me." And yes, I am on the bus. And they're like, "Okay," because Pierre wants to know. And I was like, "Who the fuck is Pierre? I don't know who Pierre is." And he was the guy that was helping us out at Buffalo Wings.
Big-
That's right.
And and we were driving, and I was under the impression they were taking side streets the entire way to get over to the thing, and they did not. And they got on the expressway, and I was standing up on the bus going to the expressway, and my ass did not go into somebody's face. I did not put my junk in anybody's behind.
Unfortunately.
It was really bummed me out. But funny story. There's a child on the bus, and we walk in, and I'm like, okay, I want to respect that there's a child there. And Wally is standing next to me. He sees there's a child there too. Wally starts telling a story, and he curses more than I've ever heard him curse before in my life. And he goes,
trying to show out.
and I'm just like, I'm looking at him like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, there's a 12-year-old sitting right next to you, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, my bad." Like, he says that to her, like. He's okay. And then the parents came to me the day after. Was like, "That fucking event was awesome." And I was like, all right.
It's funny you mentioned the bus because they only ended up running 2 buses. They ran the first bus, which came hideously late. And the people who got off that bus, I was giving name tags out to them. They said, "This was the worst bus ride ever."
Yeah.
This bus went all the way to fucking Garfield and had to double back. It's like the bus driver who took off from Buffalo Wings and Rings had no clue where it was and couldn't find it, right? So they came back. So next thing I know, we're just hanging out, and I think Josh is about ready to get panels started, so it's getting close to 9 o'clock. And Treasy's like, "Hey, Beefloaf, can you talk to Pierre and find out why the bus hasn't left again?" And I'm looking outside, and the bus is out there, and I see people, I see the hood up on the bus, and I'm like, "Oh, this can't be good." So I wave down Pierre as he's behind the bar, and I'm like, "Pierre, there's people messaging us. They need this bus, whatever." He's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. The bus broke down, but we'll have it back up and running in 10 minutes. And all I'm thinking is, 1, you have no clue when you'll have this bus up and running. And 2, God forbid the people get on it are going to just stay on this bus and never get to the event.
Right where it was that James Fegan was going to be on the bus. And there goes our special guest.
But it got him.
It all worked out.
This was a very popular question before I left that night. Everybody asked, "Are you having this again next year?"
Yeah.
And I think we are.
Yes,
We
I
have to
think we are.
decide if it's going to be the SoxFest pregame or the SoxFest after party, because the rumors seem to be true that SoxFest next year will only be 2 days, Saturday and
segue.
Sunday, and it'll be held at a hotel by McCormick Place.
So let's do this. This is my idea because I'm a very selfish person. I would say let's do a Friday, like, pregame, right? Because then, like, you don't need the buses or anything, and you kind of pick, whatever time you want to do and all that stuff, and it's easy. And then we'll do Barren Plains will play Reggie's after the McCormick Place one, and you guys can all come and watch my band play and pay money to see it,
or go home early, rest up to go get those autographs over there. SoxFest.
Take the move, dude. Anyways, you guys should run a poll, and we should ask people now, so we can start mentally preparing a year out. Because for those that don't know, we thought about planning this September, October.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, we did it. It was a while back when we went to Motor Row, because that was one of our first places that we were thinking about doing it.
For those that are listening, we scouted. Like, we were scouting.
Right,
places.
there were a couple different options of places we were thinking about going.
So,
and this was like a last minute thing.
It sort of popped up last minute.
It just popped up and it all worked out. And big thanks to Justin and then Northwest Indiana Steve too.
Yeah, Steve really helped us
making
out.
that happen. And then he got all drunk and didn't even get to remember any of the credit that he got that night. So
that's okay. That's part of the reward.
Right. Yeah. But so I also heard, Josh, and the same thing as what you're saying, is that it's moving to 2 days and they're cutting out the autographs. They're going to be it's only going to be seminar stuff.
I could actually swear in your podcast. What the fuck is that all about then?
Well, that's
what's the point of having SoxFest if you can't meet and greet with the players and get autographs?
Right, that's seemingly the whole thing, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of why Treasy and I don't go, because we don't really care about meeting players or getting autographs.
So Daniel Polk at the beginning of SoxFest said to me, like, who, when I ran into him, came up and gave me the biggest bro hug, the hardest bro hug I've ever gotten from somebody.
He's a fucking lumberjack.
That I have never met before in my life. And I've conversed, and, like, actually I did meet him, but, like, on the field or whatever it is, real quick. But, like, since then we've, fostered our relationship, and it's been really, like, the 108.
No intercourse yet. But
intercourse.
Close.
Just hand stuff.
Yet.
So he came over and just gave me this, like, just massive bear hug and just like, I fucking love you guys. And I was like, we fucking love you, goddammit. And it was just a very good bro moment. But he was like, he's like, man, Twins Festival. He's like, ain't nothing like this. That fucking shit sucks. He's like, this is awesome. He's like, I fucking love it. And he is a player that I feel is, like, built for it. Like, he doesn't give a fuck if he's walking through the lobby at 2:00 in the morning. He'll sign autographs for kids or whoever. Adults, whatever it is. There are a lot of players that don't want to do that. But, yeah, so, like, the Twins Fest, I think, is if we move to something like what the Twins do, it was Kansas City. It was the Twins.
It was Twins, because that was the org he was in. But all I got to say is, we're going to talk about it later, but baseball needs more people like Daniel Polk.
Oh, we do. But the Twins will do this. We'll have a stage, right? And, and this is all for charity, and then they'll charge you $15 to get 4 guys' autographs. So you don't have to pay. I think you pay a very low fee to get in, but then you pay per autograph. But it's never just one guy. It's like 4 guys or 3 guys. And then if it's like Hall of Famers, like they had Jack Morris and Rat Carew or something there, and it was like $35. So that would keep Riff Raff the fuck out. There'd be no line jumping. There wouldn't be any bullshit that goes on like at SoxFest in that regard.
So Aaron Gleeman, who is the editor-in-chief of Baseball Prospectus, also has a very popular Twins podcast.
He's also an awesome follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
He
tweeted out the attendance at Twins Fest, and it is almost to epic failure status.
Really?
14,000 4 years ago, 12,000 3 years ago, 11,000 2 years ago, last year, 10,000 this year.
So
sharp decline. So that model is not working for the Twins.
He gets almost as many people at his event.
He does.
He does.
So now, I'll ask you this, Josh, and this is probably something we can't answer. But if they've just moved to the paying money thing, right?
Yeah.
If that's the cause of the decline, I wonder does it make more money and is less people? Because as a guy that goes for autographs or for that experience, like, I'll take 4,000 less people at an event, so then I don't have to really worry about waiting in line and doing that kind of stuff. So I mean,
here's the thing on that, though.
I don't understand. I'm not sure how it works.
I get that.
That's kind of like
if you're the Twins and you're in Minnesota and there's fucking nobody else around, and you're not trying to grow your fan base because you're like, people in Minnesota watch the Twins. This is the thing.
Yep. You got no choice.
The Sox have to fight and claw
for everything.
every damn fan in the city.
Yeah.
And they have to, even more so, grab the kid's attention.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And make that kid a fan for life, right? And you're not going to get that shit if, the kid's dad has to pay $35 for fucking Adam Engel to sign an autograph for you.
Well, it wouldn't just be so. Like what I would think it would be, and I'm not. We don't need to harp on this or talk about this all that much, but like it would be.
I want to talk about it.
Polka, like Garcia and Sanchez, like all like on a row for $15.
Right, but you're giving me the guy that calls into the score and says we should trade these 4 garbage guys for a good guy, and you're saying pay $35 for these 4 garbage autographs.
But so first of all, Daniel Polka is not garbage. I know what you're saying. And also, there's a Golden Glove finalist in that lineup, too. So, just take it easy. But, no, I think that it's like a nominal fee. Like, me and my pops used to go to the Huntington Beach AVP Open. It was volleyball. And it was on the beach in Huntington Beach. Well, it's a public area. Like, you can't normally charge to go out to a public area. But then they started it was free. Then they started charging like $15 to get in the grandstand. It kept so many people away, and it was a better experience because the people that were just there to like do what like just to fuck around weren't there anymore because it cost you $10 to get in versus nothing.
But
it was nice.
But my Sox Summer,
yes,
the weekend pass is $75.
Well, that's if you buy it on the through the Sox alone.
Okay, so
you get a room, it's like $40.
That's a lot of money.
It is a good amount of money. Yes.
And I thought that would weed out people, but when you go there, and when I went there on Saturday, and I just did a quick tour, the autograph lines are packed because you have the prospects there.
We went to the worst day for autographs.
Well, I didn't want to get autographs. I needed to get audio clips from Rick Hahn telling me, don't lose the forest through the trees.
Yeah.
So valuable, right?
Yeah,
but it is. It's
what
packed.
I needed. I mean, it was packed. And from my perspective, this is what the White Sox really need to focus on, and it's the kids. And you're right, Chirizi. The coolest part about SoxFest when I was there is that Yohan Mikata was in a kids-only line. And every single one of those kids got to get his autograph and got a photo with him.
Yeah.
And they're going to cherish that. Because if he becomes the player that we all think he'll be, they'll have that really great show and tell story of, I got to meet Yohan Mikata and I got his photo taken. Now, you're going to take away the autographs, and you're going to take away that opportunity. SoxFest is stupid because nobody wants to go to these boring-ass seminars. Okay, Bo Jackson, you're great and all, but god damn it, I do not need to sit through
You didn't like
the Bo Jackson seminar.
You didn't like the Bo Jackson, we almost died in the plane crash story?
That was Dylan Cease, yeah.
I mean, I didn't listen to it.
No,
I heard it somewhere else, but you're right.
A lot of the seminars just regurgitated stuff. And
Bo Jackson's kind of a D-bag.
Hey, man.
He's not a nice
He's a D-bag right until you got money to pay him. Then
right.
He's not a D-bag.
There we go.
100%.
Bo knows how to make money. Bo doesn't know you unless you got money.
We are arm in arm.
You ain't got
together
money.
with that.
Bo doesn't know you. Bo doesn't care.
That's exactly right. I mean, like, somebody said something to me over the weekend, and it was like, it was Justin from Buffalo Wings and Rings. He's like, yeah, Bo came by the booth and stopped because they make guys go and check out the vendor booths. They make the players go and look at the stuff and see what it is. And the girls were like, hey, can we take a picture with you? And Bo's like, nope. And he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, that's fucking Bo. Like, Bo doesn't do shit unless you fucking give him the money. Then he'll do whatever you want him to do. But, like, that's just, and that's really sad because he was like one of my favorite players as a kid. But, like, yeah, he just does not do anything unless he's fucking paid.
I got a new goal for this season. I'm going to try and get a Bo Jackson autograph. Well, I'll pay for it. But I'm going to make it rain on Bo and see if Bo can beat the shit out of me.
You
guys better have Periscope going. Well, I make it rain on Bo, and then Bo blows upon me.
So Kim just texted me that one of her favorite seminars going to SoxFest as a kid was a catching seminar held by Brooke Fordyce.
Brooke Fordyce.
Now I see why you guys are together. And it's all becoming very clear. So I thought. So I know you went as a media guy.
Yeah, I just had the fan pass, so I just went in and
This child at the seminar.
I sat by the speaker. I put the audio recorder by the speaker. As soon as it was done, I texted Kim, "What do you want from Harold's?" Walked down and got Harold's, and then I left. So.
What did you think? Like, I think the kids zone obviously is unbelievably.
It is
awesome
the
for
most
kids.
impressive thing about SoxFest
Yeah.
is the kids zone. If you are a kid, you can have so much fun at SoxFest. But if the autograph hounds, I can understand where the White Sox want to make some adjustments, and I think reducing it from 3 days to 2 days will help with that. Just keep the same format on a 2-day basis and see if that works.
Right. It's they need more space because I'm sure you walk through
It's so crowded.
area. There's lines for a 1:00 autograph at 9:00 in the morning. Like there's people waiting in line just to get a wristband, and they finally start giving out wristbands 2 hours before the actual autograph because they want to clear these people out of the way because it's going to get ridiculous.
How are you having fun when you're sitting in a line for 4 hours in a hotel? How are you having fun?
Teresa, I don't know about you, but this sounds absolutely fucking horrible to
It
me.
all sounds awful to me. Like
have no
lots.
interest in
It's
this.
like it's huge lines, lots of kids. It's like if you wanted to put me into hell. This would be was Kenny G playing for you guys while this was going
There's
on?
no music.
Oh Jesus Christ!
So how we've done it, and I go with Wally and I go with Uncle Rico. You're hanging with these guys continuously for 3 days, and we have kind of build up relationships with other people too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's works, right?
This sounds like Disney.
You can
if
cut-
you're big into Disney, there's whole packs of
you
people
got
like this.
you got one guy holding your spots, right?
Yeah.
My
So then
Sox
one
number,
guy
don't
can
give
go
up
and
all
do
your hacks,
something.
okay?
Well, it doesn't matter. Everybody does it, so
Okay.
it's not like a bunch of I'm not doing anything crazy.
Okay.
Now, what we have done in the more recent future is we have or recent present or whatever.
Recent
it's called.
past.
Recent past.
There you go.
We have
Recent future.
So, yeah,
Everything is recent future.
yeah.
Everyone drink for that.
So we buy the MVP pass. So you get a pass that's a cut the line pass, which really fucked them on Friday with the Tommy and the Thomas. So you'll have
What happened with that? People were complaining about it.
So Tommy and Thomas are announced that they're going to sign on the same stage on Friday night. Okay, so everybody gets to SoxFest. Apparently somebody lined up on Thursday night for Friday, so they could be first in line for Friday's festivities, right?
Holy shit.
So these guys are Jim and Wally got there at probably close to 10 o'clock and got in line. And I wasn't able to get there because my wife had to work. I wasn't able to get there till about 1:30.
Yeah.
So I am I'm not in the area where they're doing opening ceremonies. I don't get to see opening ceremonies. And I'm okay, well, I have a fast pass for Friday, so I can use it with Tony and Thomas. So what you can do with a fast pass is you don't need the wristband. You can just go stand in line and get the autograph. So I went to Kopech, got his wristband because I wanted to get him because I had 2 bobbleheads I wanted to sign, and then I went and got in line for Thomas, or I got the Kopech, then got in line for Thomas. Well, so there was 347 people that had fast passes that were in that line for Thomas.
300 max, 347
So-
are in line.
200 max wristbands
man.
that they give out.
200 max, 347 people are in line.
So they basically had to sign close to 600 autographs when they only were told they maybe were going to sign 400. So when I
The
got
good thing is they both took a ton of Nugenics before they started.
Absolutely.
Jim told me did not seem to have an issue with it. He seemed totally fine. When I got up there, and I could show you, I can put it on the blog when I do the blog. My Frank Thomas autograph is the meanest Frank Thomas autograph I have ever seen.
The pen is still in the ball.
Does not, no, I got a bobble. Sorry. He does not give a fuck at this point. He is pissed. There's a kid getting an autograph picture of himself and Jim Tomei because Jim was his coach, and he's yelling at the kid to hurry up, get over here, so I can sign this because I got to get out of here because he's contractually obligated to go and take pictures with people. Apparently, after a certain amount of time, they're okay, these guys got to leave. There's still 100 and some people in line. he gets up to leave, and some guy starts yelling at Frank Thomas, and Frank Thomas is like, "Who the fuck are you?" kind of deal. And they escort Frank out. Frank is supposed to be taking pictures at the stage. They take it. He is no longer taking pictures of the stage for his safety and everybody else's safety, more like. And they put Kopech up there, and he took pictures of people. But like, yeah, it was dirty. Like, I don't know. I know there was something going on because there was a guy behind me that had won the White Sox charities will sell guaranteed autograph wristbands, and this guy had paid $400 for a wristband to get Jim Thome and Frank Thomas to autograph something. So they were like, you need to get out of line. You need to come up front right now. So they brought him up there, and I'm going, what the fuck is going on? And they came back and got another guy who had bought the same wristband. It was like $400. They took him up there. So it was just, I think what happened, and this is just me as a casual
You almost
observer.
had the fire festival going on.
Right, well,
Jacob was ready to go in the office. And
I wasn't fire festival. I actually, Farmer Matt told me about that this weekend.
I'll drink because I used your real name.
But oh yeah, way to go, Dick. No, it was kind of fucking. It was just weird. And I feel like the Sox pushed something, and they shouldn't have pushed it. Like, they're like, oh, this isn't going to be as big. But like, the first email I got from other guys that got these autographs, they're like, holy fuck, we can use the speed pass on Frank Thomas and Jim Thome. So like, basically what we did, and what like Bobble's Jim or Uncle Rico did, went and got the wristband first in the line because they've been there for forever, and then got in the fast pass line, and then got back in so like you could double up, right? Because that's the get. You get 4 autographs from these guys. Jim Thome charges $200 for an autograph at a show.
Can't you just go see him at a Waffle House?
So like, when you're saying, it's $80 for a pass, it's like, it's a fucking bargain for the amount of people that you get. It's pretty cheap for autograph people, and that's why they do it. But they need to make some adjustments. I know the Cubs do a pull tab system. Like, if you don't win a Rizzo autograph, you don't get a Rizzo autograph. There's no line. You can't line up at 5 o'clock in the morning the day before and get an autograph. And it kind of sucks, and it will kind of ruin SoxFest in that regard. But I think it's better, like, going forward.
Okay.
Like,
so
I think it would be better.
Yeah, the autographs needs work.
Major adjustment.
It's just there's too many people
Sounds
getting
bad.
like I'm gonna put it in the
horrible.
blog, but there's like guys that are like posting stuff on our Instagram, and they have Basabe, like, he signed like 20 jerseys for him over the weekend, or like Jim Thome has signed 6 things for some guy. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you've been harassing these guys since Wednesday. A bunch of people sell that shit.
Because I have a Luis Basabe signed Winston-Salem jersey. Kim has a signed Sebi Savala Birmingham jersey. That's really cool.
Nice.
I cherish that stuff, but it sounds like we have autograph hounds trying to sell this stuff.
Well, if Basabe goes, if he goes as good as people think he's going to do, it'll be worth something.
If he ends up with more Rookie of the Year votes than Eloy Jimenez, like I predicted, which will happen this year, people will go ape shit for that.
And Sebi is like, his girlfriend was there the entire weekend. He was introduced to us at the season ticket holder event.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to chat with him?
I did.
He's
get
a
chance
really
to.
cool dude.
Very nice guy. Side paneled every person at that fucking event. Which is...
What do you mean?
So, like, guys will sign baseballs, okay? And there's a sweet spot that they sign.
Yeah.
He side paneled everybody. He didn't
who is this?
spot anybody. It was Zebi.
New favorite player of mine. New favorite player.
But
Did he smudge the autograph too, like Steve Stone, or no?
I want guys to sign over the laces for you guys. That's
No.
So you don't sell it.
I don't
Just for
care.
you.
I didn't care, and we actually, May was there. My daughter was there on Sunday.
Drink.
And we were going. Well, she doesn't care. So we were going through the line for him because it's a kid, and like, I don't need his autograph, you know. Wally's like, "Hey, can you get this signed?" Sure. So he gives me the ball. We get up there, hand it to him for the sweet spot. And he slice panels it. I don't say shit because, first of all, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I have like Eloy, that he side paneled because he has a deal, I'm assuming. And like, he told me right before he signed the season ticket over, he's like, "I can't sign sweet spot." And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Just sign the side panel. It doesn't bother me. I just want a ball.
I have a theory. Sebi is so down to earth and he's so modest that he's probably thinking, you're using this baseball to get somebody else's autograph with mine. So I will say the sweet spot for somebody else.
I hope, and you know what?
That's a major spin zone that I love.
That would fit Sebi's personality.
He was amazingly awesome.
Josh Nelson, Sebi Zavala's PR guy.
He was good, and I don't even really care. I want to make that very clear.
Josh, if we find out that you are on retainer for Sebi Zavala, we will fucking crush you on this podcast. I just want to let you know, okay?
Every White Sox fan, if they got a chance to know Sebi Zavala, would fall in love with Sebi Zavala because he's just a cool dude. And he knows that he's playing above his limit right now, and he's a lot farther than a lot of people thought he would be. And he's enjoying the moment and trying to make it last as long as possible. And it is remarkable that the 11th round pick in 2016 is currently the third White Sox catcher in the system, while the first round pick, who got paid $4 million, is behind him, and he's outplayed him. And, he looks and that makes it easy to root for guys like that.
You can name him. You dragged him through the mud before.
If you're a Patreon supporter of the SoxMachine podcast, Jim Callis went on for like a good 6 minutes on Zach Collins and said everything that I would say about him and be like, well, he hits for power. That's the positive. Here's the negative. And it's just like 5 minutes later. Yeah.
Do you want to keep talking SoxFest?
I do. I want to get some stuff from Josh, but if you got something left,
if
lay
you
it
got
on us,
some
baby.
stuff from him, lay
it on us.
I just want to run through some stuff real quick, just to so I can get all this out of here. I want to give a big shout out to Uncle Rico and Wally Money for taking care of Farmer Matt's son on Sunday morning and letting him get his Abreu autograph. Matt had contacted me. We talked during the day, and then he sent me a text. He's like, "Hey, Anthony wants to get Abreu's autograph. Are you going to come early so he can sit in line with you and stuff? Because Kellen, my godson, doesn't want to go early." And I said, "Absolutely. I'm going to totally foster this bullshit. You should definitely get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and come sit in a fucking room with a bunch of adults waiting to get an autograph." So we got in there. Apparently, Abreu's flight was going to leave, so he had to get in there really quick. So he's supposed to sign 175 things. I'm pretty sure they did not give 175 bands. We got shut out. So Jim, Uncle Rico, gave away his spot to Anthony so he could go in and get his autograph. So although I said that he used his juicy double to box out kids to get autographs, he definitely gave up his spot for a kid so he could meet Jose Abreu and get his autograph, which was unbelievably awesome, and I thought that was great.
He's a sweetheart.
Second, unbelievably awesome fucking thing. Daniel Palka, totally fucking amazing the entire time. Talked about the bro hug. He was partying with fans. He signed a Jack bottle, I think, when in the lobby.
I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah,
someone tweeted that thing out.
They were signing shit. And my God, this guy is living it right. I sent his brother a DM today on Twitter and just said, "Listen, your brother's fucking pretty amazing. And he has hit on all of the nerves with the White Sox fan base, and it feels good. I love that he has a crowd of people around him, but it also is that's our fucking guy.
That's right.
You're finding out about his awesomeness. We've known about his awesomeness, but I'm just glad that he's getting his just dues here and he's having a fun time with it. So I just hope that continues. I hope they keep him around so that he can be that guy, because he is perfect for this kind of shit. It's just it's insane to watch a guy get off a stage, go into the middle of the crowd and start fucking signing everything. He was signing, "I fucking crushed that shit," as inscriptions on his autographs and stuff. He signed 27 things for me that we will be giving away through the year. And he's just is there more? Can I get more? You want more? And I'm no, it's fine. And I made a little an Air Polka logo. It's the Jordan logo. And he shows the Engel, because he signed with Engel on Sunday morning. He's like, "Look, Adam." He's like, "It's a fucking brand, bro." And Adam's he's like, "Who the fuck are you guys?" And I was like, "We're the 108 guys." He's like, "Oh shit, 108? Yes." He's like, "Can I get a shirt?" "Yes." Lucas Giolito wants a shirt. All these guys want shirts.
They've obviously not listened to the podcast. Specific guys have not listened to the podcast.
Not one time. So that was awesome. I just want to make sure that he is.
They listen to any White Sox podcast.
Which is probably better for their
It
health.
is very good. They listen to one, and it's Chuck Garfield. That's the only one they listen to.
So that was that. Also ran into Jason Benetti at the elevator bank. Introduced myself. He was like, "Oh, I remember you." Yeah.
My Sox number. Did you tell him
Sure
we
you
will
remember.
kidnap him and get him on the show
Well,
later?
he said,
in
"I really am going to come out this year to the section."
He's
I'm
such a
going to
fucking
come out and
liar.
say
There's
hi."
no way he's coming out.
He might if we harass him, and all I wanted to do.
No
was
way. You know
tell
what's
him-
going to happen? He's going to do a live broadcast from inside the wall at the Goose Island.
Right,
yeah.
And then he'll give us the
It's
toodaloo
so
wave.
fucking
Yeah,
the
exactly.
entire
So,
time.
oh
You'll
yeah, I saw you
You'll
guys.
just see this much of our face over the wall.
First off, I'm good. You guys can't come in, so it's okay.
Sorry. He'll
But
be
no,
safe.
I just wanted to thank him for all of the shout outs on air that he did.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it's like, I hope these guys, and I think they do, they see that it's a definite genuine thanks, because we're not backed by any big money guys. We're fucking doing this our thing, and we don't know what
Yeah, we're three dickheads.
we don't know what we're
Some
doing,
stuff, right?
you know? And so it's just like, it was cool to like be able to thank these guys and just tell them, hey, we really appreciate, the little things here, because you're making us seem like we're really a fucking legit contender in this whole fucking thing. So it's been nice. But that's all I got on SoxFest.
All right, so we're only like an hour and 15 minutes into our
Right.
4-hour podcast.
I knew that was going to take an hour. I knew it was going to take an hour.
I don't care, because I want to hear from Josh on the panels, and just kind of like if you heard anything you actually care about, or if it was just all company line bullshit.
So Jason Benetti asking Rick Hahn, what are you most happiest about this offseason? And I played the whole quote on our show on the SoxMachine podcast, and I left the 7-second pause because I want fans to listen to that, because on stage was a general manager who pretty much gave a look of, say, like, I'm not happy with this offseason. This offseason banks on Manny Machado. And Rick Hahn's not lying when he says he'll be personally disappointed. He'll show a good face. He'll put on his lawyer face. He'll get his PR speech down to every single word, and he'll be very repetitive, and he'll say the same damn thing where everyone's like, oh my God, Rick Hahn is so open and transparent. And then you read what he says, and it's like, this is nothing. That's why lawyers are really good at what they do. But that was a moment of transparency where, for Rick Hahn, this offseason is about Manny Machado. Ivan Nova and Alex Colomé and Kelvin Herrera, those are pieces that help get you through 2019 and 2020. He knows that. But there was no point in getting Yonder Alonso. There was no point in signing John Jay when there are better outfielders in the free agency market if they're not going to help you get Manny Machado, if they're not going to sweeten the deal. And if they lose out on Manny Machado, you're having Yonder Alonso taking at bats away from Daniel Polka.
Yeah,
Daniel Polka
that's a
has an
disaster.
elite skill. That elite skill is exit velocity, and we know so much from StatCast how important that is. Yonder Alonso doesn't have an elite skill unless you want to call playing decent baseball in the first half and taking a shit in the second half, because I can tell you that's what's going to happen this year.
He's also 32 years old.
Everyone's going to be like, Yonder Alonso, he's a pretty good player in July, and then it'll be September, and it'll be like, dude, this guy sucks. And I'm like, this happens every single season. That's why he was an all-star. Like Avi, you have one good half, and boom, you're an all-star for life. So that was one thing from the panels. The other was a fan asked Rick Hahn, how are you planning for the strike? And he admitted that he said this was a legit and serious conversation. And Ken Rosenthal wrote something yesterday on The Athletic about how it seems to be this slow march to a strike and work stoppage after the 2021 season. And it's going to be really interesting, and the White Sox are going to be the forefront of this because of Jerry Reinsdorf, because he was at the forefront of the 1994 strike. Mm-hmm. And Rick Hahn, because of that pairing, will have to be part of those negotiations, and Jerry will lean on him because of his lawyer background and his expertise in negotiating. So it'll be, those are the two takeaways. One, Rick Hahn will actually be disappointed if Manny Machado doesn't sign with the White Sox. And two, Rick Hahn, I think, secretly is planning for a strike because he knows that they have too much going well for them, and the owners are not going to be willing to give it up in the next CBA negotiations.
Didn't he
That's
also
crazy.
say that he was an idiot? For
Jackass.
trading?
He was a jackass for trading Tatis.
Now-
He and Jason Benetti have good rapport. They had a good comedy shtick going on, making fun of each other.
Now I'm gonna say I wish this is the one moment I wish I would have been at SoxFest for, so I could have defended Rick Hahn for bringing in a talent like James Shields,
Once in a lifetime talent.
while getting rid of one of these prospect guys.
That
I give you
maybe
some
pans
air
out,
quotes
maybe doesn't.
around prospect guys, like because I don't know what that guy's going to become in San Diego.
You don't know.
I see a lot of top prospects be terrible, like Lucas Giolito. All right,
Well, good thing we don't have XL shirts yet. We can't send them one now.
time to pay some bills there, my Sox Summer.
Holy shit, it's cold. Do you want to move in this weather? Fuck no, you don't. Who can help you out? Your friends? Friends don't ask other friends to help them move. Your dad? He's old and it's too cold. Your mom? What? Is she going to move your porn? You want her to see what sick fuck you are? Of course you don't. Get Dan from Dutch Movers a call at 708-331-2990 and get your day booked. He's in all sorts of weird shit.
This sounds just like one of my podcasts.
So he won't look at your casting couch porn collection and judge. He might even give you a couple suggestions depending on what you're into. Dutch Movers, 708-331-2990. And remember, if it ain't Dutch, it ain't much. Listen, okay.
You did a really good job, man.
Had we done this ad read about an hour ago, probably when we should have done it, I would not be as drunk and as subjective to you guys laughing. And I honestly did not think this was as funny as it was until I started reading it. And I was like, oh, that was pretty funny.
We only have 9 topics to get through.
I know. So that's what I thought.
So we
Sorry,
do.
Josh.
No problem.
Since Josh
If that is
here,
your real name.
and since Nosh is here, and
It's not Jelson.
Nosh Jelson is in the house. Since he's here, and since we know very little about the origins of SoxMachine,
Okay.
we'd love to hear the origins and how you even know Jim.
Okay, good question. So Jim Margulis started up SoxMachine. That was his first blog way back 14 years ago.
God damn.
And yes, and that's why one of his things, if you ask him, what would you want to see the White Sox do? He's like, I would like to write about a playoff game again, because I have written about one playoff game in 14 years writing about the White Sox. And Jim, around, I want to say 2011, took over Southside Sox on SB Nation. And he ran Southside Sox all the way until last year. So through the 2 years ago, 2017 season. So 2011 through 2017. And that's how everybody knew Jim. Everybody went to Southside Sox and enjoyed his writing. And you mentioned this before in 670 The Score when the White Sox were on that station about the propaganda and I remember in the comments section people were getting really upset with Chris Ranji, that Chris Ranji would defend Robin Ventura on anything. And people suggested, we need to have our own show because right now 670 The Score is the only one that's talking about the White Sox. And it's true, ESPN 1000 wasn't talking about the White Sox, sure. WGN wasn't talking about the White Sox. And people were like, well, maybe we should just do something like a podcast. That's when podcasts were starting to come back. And I chimed in. I know how to do that. I have that experience. So we launched it. And for about, let's say we went through 10 episodes like you guys have. And Jim wasn't really involved. This was, we call it the back pages of Southside Sox. Fan
Great name.
Yeah, and
the back pages of
and
life.
I asked Jim, like Jim,
Not for great content.
I mean, for something though.
Good experiences, but not so much the content.
And I asked Jim, like, how do I get you more involved? And Jim's like, this is what I've always thought of doing a podcast, but I have no idea how to pull it off. And he just emailed me like a format that he wants to do. And I told him, yes, I can do this. I can pull it off. And he's like, okay, well, if you want to get a guest interview, I got Jonah Carey on episode 12. He was pushing his book at the time about the Montreal Expos, and I thought, come on a White Sox podcast. Let's talk about 1994. It should have been the Expos and White Sox. And after I got that, then it was actually John Greenberg and then Dan Hayes. And it really got the ball rolling, which we launched the Southside Sox podcast. And that lasted for 4 seasons. And we're currently on our 2nd season on SoxMachine. And for all those that read on Deadspin what was going on at SB Nation, really impacted us. Like, the things that SB Nation was asking us to do was ridiculous. And that they weren't even paying minimum wage for. They were hardly paying any type of money. They were hardly paying Jim. And Jim was getting really frustrated, and I just told him, you should relaunch SoxMachine. We should go independent. I'm confident that I can help on the business side, that we can bring in more money than we currently do in SB Nation. Let's relaunch SoxMachine. And he's like, I already had that idea like 2 months ago. And I told him, well, I'll follow you. I'm not running Southside Sox. No, I'm not staying behind. So I feel like he and I are a very good pair. We are quite different. I can be very meatballish, as you guys probably know.
Which we love, by the way.
I will spout hot takes. I'll spout hot takes all day. Jim doesn't have hot takes, ever. But I think we're a good pair, and we're back in our 2nd season, and we're so grateful for all the support, for all those that read and listen every single day. We learned very early when we were doing the Southside Sox podcast that people were comparing us to shows that listen to on 670 The Score. And it's like, you guys don't understand. I do not have a professional recording studio. Right. I cannot match up with what they do. Right. I will try my hardest. This is a side hustle. This is not a full-time job. But we've aimed to try to make the best content as possible, because we do know, and like I mentioned before, a lot of the stuff that's out there today that comes from the media in Chicago, I put in quotes, I feel is starting to swerve into propaganda, where it's rah, 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 White Sox can't do any wrong. The White Sox were a 100-loss team last year. And if you're pissed about that, you should be pissed about it. If you're excited about the prospects, you could still be excited about the prospects, sure. But you need to be level. You can't be too high and you can't be too low. You got to try to find that medium. And I think we have tried to be as fair as possible. I know people will say, well, Josh is a negative White Sox fan. I mean, I don't know how positive you can be about 100-loss season. I watch all of these prospects. Yes, I don't think Zach Collins is very good. The numbers back me up on that.
But you like Zebby.
I like Sebi because the numbers back me up on that.
And that also.
So,
right?
Yeah.
And the performance does. So we're excited in year 2. Hopefully, we always joke around, what would it be like if the White Sox were already good? While doing this, because it's been
Sounds
6
like
straight losing seasons. But we're very grateful, and we work very hard, and we're trying to fill in a gap that's currently there. And I'm so excited. I know I kind of pushed you because we had a lot of conversations about this at Motor Row. For those that are listening, it'd be great to one day actually launch an internet radio station of White Sox talk, from White Sox Twitter and from White Sox blogs. We just don't have enough content yet to fill that. And that's the pie in the sky, right? That is the dream. And
it's okay. This one show is going to be able to fill an entire week.
Yeah, I was going to say, this show is an easy 9 to 5.
Right. So
we could talk all day. We literally could. Even with me sounding like a horse's butthole, we could definitely do it.
But that's kind of the backstory with SoxMachine, and we're excited as far as the future, and just like you guys as well. It's great to partner with you guys on a lot of this event stuff because I think you guys help us remind us that we're fans about this, right? It is all about being fun. Baseball is fun. Drinking beer, watching baseball is even more fun. And it's great to be reminded about that because sometimes you do get sucked into the dark void of covering this team on a daily basis. And it's great to partner with everybody else, like with Future Sox, at Shy Sox Weekly, at Sox on 35th. So I'm very excited for White Sox Twitter and all the White Sox blogs on the hopefully more success that's coming up hopefully in the near future.
I did realize at the last event is that Jim and I have something in common. Both he and I often get mistaken for people who are in their 50s. Now, the difference is that like people will see Jim in person and then go, "Oh my God, just hearing you, I thought you were over 50." And then the opposite happens to me where like I'll meet someone and they'll be like, "Holy shit, you look like you're at least 50.
You're the oldest one in the blog, right?
People come up to me and like touch my neck, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're just checking your pulse. Just checking your pulse, buddy.
Make sure you're okay.
So we gonna hit him with some questions?
Absolutely.
Deeplo's got
So
some questions.
I've got a two-part
Can
question.
we do like machine gun? Like we go around and hit him?
Yeah,
Like,
that's-
you do one, you do one, I do one, do one.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
Because then he can't think so much.
I got a two-part question. So, first part, who is your favorite or some of your favorite interviews that you've done on the podcast?
Okay.
And number two, if Jim had to take over the interview part of the podcast,
Yep.
would he be like Garth Algar in Wayne's World when Wayne left? He wasn't sure what to do.
No, Jim.
And I love Jim. I'm Jim. I'm dragging you right now. You'll probably never listen to this, but if you do listen to this, I'm only dragging you because I like you. Don't worry about it. Okay.
He's definitely not making it this far in the podcast.
Jim's a great interviewer. It takes a lot of time to handle the day to day, so that's why he leaves it a lot up to me, and I like that responsibility. My favorite interview is Jim Callis of MLB.com. If I release the off the record conversations
yes,
of Jim Callis and I, there's some really good nuggets in there, and every time I have a half an hour scheduled with Jim, it always lasts an hour. Always does. Dan Zaborski's also another great one.
I really enjoy him when he's on your show.
And
He's
then,
kind of a goof. Like he has a ton of cats, like I do. So
Yeah.
I feel a kinship with him.
Well, also
Pussy
you
Man.
and I both also had the Orioles over for Team Wins this year. So we're all with Dan.
Yeah. Also, Eno Saris. Eno is great. Obviously, he's doing a lot more with the Athletic. But if you ever get Eno rolling about beer, like
Yeah,
he
he
would
loves
love
beer.
the
Huge beer
hell
guy.
out of this right now.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even talk about baseball. He would just be talking about all these beers that we've been having. Those three are by far my favorite.
So that will roll into my question. If I said, "Hey Nosh, we're gonna have a little drink fest.
That's sticking.
We're gonna get out there. We're gonna get after it." Out of all those writers, all those guys that you've interviewed,
Yeah.
who are you bringing with?
Eno.
It's Eno.
The guy could just carry a conversation. He was here for a meetup at the local H or local option.
Oh yeah,
Local option.
Yeah.
Local option off
Yep.
the Fullerton red line stop or brown line stop. Both, actually. It's by DePaul. And everybody loves to go chat with Eno. Eno will talk about anything with you. You can't miss him because of the hair. I mean, he's just
Right, yes.
tall.
He's got like the curly, big,
Yeah.
red hair. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And he's just so approachable. So, yeah, I mean, if you're ever going to have a professional writer do some hashtag 108ing with you guys in the 108 podcast, Eno Saris is your guy.
That's the guy.
This is right up his alley right now.
All right, we'll get some drinks with Eno.
So-
That sounds like a plan.
Before I get into the real fun, meaty questions, I'm going to lob you a softball.
All right.
Like, how long did it take you guys, as we're like a young podcast, how long did it take you guys to find your groove with one another?
Halfway through the second season.
Okay.
Halfway through the second season. That was because Jim and I really didn't know each other that well. Now,
Not biblically.
Yeah, right. Now when we chat, he'll ask like how Kim is doing, and I'll ask how Kara's doing, like his girlfriend, and vacations and stuff like that. Before we actually get into recording, or sometimes we just vent to one another before we start recording.
You're like, Adam Engel, Golden Glove, what the fuck?
Let's do this. Like, I was excited about that. Look, Adam Engel is nominated along with Mike Trout for the same category. It's different than you guys because you guys know each other very well. You guys have great, obviously great friends, great rapport.
Yeah.
Repertoire.
We drink together a lot, so all this riffing is what we normally do.
I was going to say, the podcast basically just became, let's put some fucking mics in front of us and like write out like a little schedule or like a little top.
Here's what we'll probably talk about.
Yeah, like an outline. It like literally did not change anything that we did other than like, hey, this is what we're talking about. Don't talk about chicks you used to like talk to in high school. Like, keep it more towards like White Sox baseball.
Yeah, well, sometimes. Occasionally.
Right.
That's right.
And then we usually don't go till 2:00 in the morning. And then end with every show with "I fucking love you." Like, I love you too, man.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, God, we'll do this all again tomorrow. My liver hurts. Shit. So hey, what's your next?
I've got the next question. So
it's Treasy's.
I have requested this from Jim directly, but I have not from you, Josh.
Okay.
So I wanna just put it out there to you. I want to know, how come you guys won't put a picture up of James Brown on your website wearing a Sox hat? It's an obvious tie-in.
Copyright.
That everyone will get. And yeah, I know you're saying that, but I don't think the estate for James Brown is going to chase you down, especially after they carted his dead body around for a month, trying to like get everyone. It's over, okay? You can get it up there, and the people who are our age will get that shit immediately and think that's amazing. And but Jim ignores me. Like if I try to tell him what we did up, he just looks the other way, like he doesn't know what I'm talking about. He knows what I'm talking about.
That's where the name came from. I mean, Jim is huge into music as well.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So next time, Treasy, you talk to Jim.
Yeah,
talk
I
about
feel like,
music.
I feel like we haven't talked music before. I didn't realize
Jim
this.
is huge into music. Jim goes to a ton of concerts. So I feel like I'm spilling the beans on who Jim Margulis is. Jim.
What kind of concerts
He likes alternative rock.
Okay.
I think that's.
so do we.
That's right up our alley.
Yeah.
So what's alternative rock, Josh?
So let me ask you a question.
He's a hipster. He names bands I've never even heard.
So like new alternatives.
Would he be impressed?
Like Pearl Jam?
Not like that. Not like that.
Would he be impressed to know that My Sock Summer made out with Louise Post from Veruca Salt?
Maybe.
Okay.
Probably. He'd be
find
like,
out.
When she was in her bigger years.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she
I
wasn't
don't know what that means, but okay.
So, like... no, I'm not going to talk that story. So, that's funny, because what I was going to say next, and this is just a statement, I imagine that you and Jim would have been like a really, really cool new wave band back in the day. Like, you guys could totally, like, I could see Jim, like, totally playing, like playing the keyboard. And then, like, you're over there.
I wish people could see you pantomiming the keyboard playing right now, because you were got a little good sway to it.
It was a good sway. It was my bad sway. Yeah. And I think, Josh, you definitely could have pulled off, like, that Flock of Seagulls hair. Like, it would have happened, and you guys, it would have been dope. So,
is there a question?
So, I kind of want Beef Loaf to be here for this. Like when I asked this question, but
this is going to be a 4-hour podcast.
Probably.
We're at an hour 40.
So
it's going to go.
It's a two-parter kind of. Okay. But what was your original thoughts? Because I'm like, not these guys, but mostly me. I'm mostly concerned about myself. What were your original thoughts about the 108? Like when you saw what we were doing and what content we're pushing, that kind of shit. You have 3 half-naked guys in a hot tub. what was the first thing that popped into your head?
Besides sexy as fuck.
Yeah, besides he obviously went ahead and masturbated immediately. After that, what was the first thing you thought about? Because I mean, you guys are fucking. I mean, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but you're fucking serious. Like you guys, actually do good reporting and talk about shit. We're like, yeah, we heard something, whatever the fuck, We have no sources. We're not recognized by outlets as oh, hey, you got to go to the fucking 108 to figure out what the hell's going on with the recruiting situation over here. So like, what was your initial thought? And then like, what possessed you to go like, you know what? I want to fucking hang out with these fucking guys.
So,
it's a two-parter.
I remember a P.O. Sox question from Chirizi. And as I was reading it, I'm like, Chirizi E is a sweet-ass Twitter handle.
Thank you, My Sox Summer, by the way.
Yeah, that was good.
He named me.
You guys are just fun. And like I said, I mean, yes, we are serious. The stuff that you read on Fangraphs and Baseball Prospectus and stuff that's on the National, we like to tie into the White Sox. And again, we're trying to fill a void. Because remember, the Chicago Tribune doesn't have a White Sox beat report.
Right.
So that's why we are serious. And sometimes we can be fun, but not as fun as you guys. But and this is one of my favorite games I've ever went to as a White Sox fan. Our friends, Deanna and Mike, live in Cincinnati, but they're from Atlanta, and they're big Atlanta Falcons fans. And it was the 2017 NFL opener when the Bears played the Falcons. And in that weekend, I convinced them to come to a White Sox game. And we sat in 108. We sat with you guys. That was when Jose Abreu hit for the cycle.
Yes. That was a great game.
Okay. Yes. And I remember Beefloaf asking Deanna, who are your guys' favorite team? And it was such a proud moment when she looked at you and said, I think we're White Sox fans now. and that's when I was sold. Because if you guys, because as Treasy mentioned on this show already, the White Sox have to scratch and claw to get every single fan. And, the best part about going to White Sox games is actually enjoying the game. And, there's so many great beer options. There's so many great opportunities to have a great fan experience. And you guys really highlight that and I think enhance that. So that's why when we try to do these fan gatherings, we're serious. And not everybody wants to go to a round table to hear James Fegan and Scott Merkin talk about the upcoming season. Sometimes they like the goofiness on, over, under, Daniel Polka hitting the goose head in right field this year. That's what makes it fun. So that's why I love partnering with you guys. That's why I love doing random drinking days with you guys. I probably will, fun. For my reputation, I will probably not hop in the hot tub with you guys. I can't drag down that sexiness.
Actually, you can hop in the hot tub off camera with us if you'd like. You're more than welcome in that capacity.
There's a list to get in the hot tub. We can add you on that list, but right now you're right behind Ozzie Guillen Jr.
All right. Like 2021 or 2022, maybe.
I appreciate that he's like, I don't want in on that weirdo shit.
Right.
But so many people are like, they're not anything about like, I want to do an interview on your blog or I want to be on your podcast. They're like, I want to get in that hot tub with you guys.
Exactly.
It's honestly a little off-putting. It's honestly a little off-putting.
We were at the meetup, on Friday night, and Simeon, who I had hung out with on Tuesday night already, he grabbed me right here and he said, just promise to tell me that this podcast thing is not going to interfere with the Sunday soak. You have to keep doing the Sunday soak. I'm like, we're going to keep doing it, all right? Just cut it out. Get your hands off me here.
And let us just tell you, we haven't been staying in shape, so it's going to be the same flab you saw last year, maybe a little more.
That is not a lie. Not a lie whatsoever.
This is my last question. I don't know if you guys maybe have some more questions left.
Well, but I do, but we're 6.5 hours in, so let's make this the last question. Let's make this the last question.
We could
one more round? All right.
One more round.
Well, the only one I have is about Jim, so
that's fine. So my last question.
You're asking Josh for Jim's life story.
Well, it's about us and Jim.
Okay, all right.
Jesus Christ.
All right.
So Josh,
is Jim 50?
You've been in the podcast game for a while. You clearly have some training and professional chops. Any advice for a newer podcast that maybe talks a little less White Sox, a little more pornography? Anything you want to throw out there to a podcast that might exist that's like that?
People would... there are some people who look at the time like, oh my gosh, a 2 or 3 hour podcast, but Hardcore History by Dan Carlin are like 5 to 6 hours per episode. So I think that's okay. I mean, people are willing to listen to 5 to 6 hours of like a 7-part series about World War I. No, I think you just have to find your voice, and you guys clearly have that. And the one thing about Jim and I that we always joke about, and it's true, the reason why I think we've had the success that we've had is that we're both stubborn. I think people would have quit a long time ago, going to their 6th season, be like, the White Sox suck. I'm just going to relaunch this podcast when they're good again. I think you miss out on the full experience going from bad to hopefully really good in 2020, 2021. Right. So even though you get into the drag and, you know, be like, oh, do I want to keep doing this podcast? Keep doing it. Just keep pushing through. Continue to be stubborn. I'm sick of this White Sox term, but just keep grinding. Keep grinding through it, because there is always the payoff, and things will get better, and the audience will continue to grow, and you'll have more fun with it.
That's good. Right? Yeah. How hard did you have to sell us to Jim to like hook up with us and start doing stuff?
So that was one of those ask for forgiveness, not ask for permission.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
So it was more like, Jim, we're having a SoxFest after party again. And I think he forgot about that.
And there were 7 seconds.
And then he saw a tweet from you guys. He's like, I would appreciate if you reminded me or let me know that we're doing events in the future. And I'm like, oh, I probably didn't do that. I'm sorry. I will do that next time.
I love that angle.
By the way, we're having one in March.
Who's that My Sox Summer guy? He was talking about the way his dick tastes after he gets out of the league. I don't understand why we're going to do something about what does that have to do with White Sox baseball, Nosh?
No,
I'm kidding. He
So
seemed really warmed up to us this last time, and I really enjoyed it. That was cool. He definitely enjoyed me telling Fegan that he made love to the and we fucked. So.
I will wrap it up with a very Sox question for you.
Okay.
Wrap it up. Being safe.
Are the two Ricks your guys? Ricky Renteria and Rick Hahn. Are
right,
those
so
your guys, or are those guys out?
I'm on my 3rd beer.
And they're like good beers.
This is where the truth comes out.
These are all like 14%.
Speaking of which,
I need the Han bots who listen to this show to listen very carefully. Rick Hahn is lucky to have a job. He should have been fired after the 2016 season if he was under any other owner, because they went for it after the 2014 season, and that was a lot of the players that Rick Hahn identified and targeted and acquired. They did not have a winning season in 2015 or 2016, but in 2016 you had 2 national embarrassments. You have Adam LaRoche on the Today Show with Drake LaRoche.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
And then you have your star player literally cut up all the uniforms, except for one, your union rep, Adam Eaton, who stole his uniform and didn't bother telling anyone that Chris Sale was doing this. While you are coaching,
true?
Yes, Adam Eaton has the only uniform that's not cut up.
Yet another reason.
While you are coaching first base at your kid's baseball game, and I understand you need to have that family time and you need to be away from the office, but you're not getting paid GM money to watch your star player have a meltdown in the clubhouse and tear up your uniforms. And you're not getting paid GM money to have another losing season after you spent a bunch of money after the 2014 offseason, and your plan after 2 years failed, and publicly you said that our franchise is mirrored in mediocrity, you are mediocre, you'd be fired. He's lucky that his owner is Jerry Reinsdorf. And if people want to argue about this with me, go and look at the Chicago Bulls. Okay? Jerry Reinsdorf's not firing anyone. He's going to leave that responsibility when he passes away and whoever takes over ownership. What Rick Hahn has done, I think he has recognized the mistakes that he's made, and that I think he is learning from them. So I am willing to give him a second chance. And I am impressed with some of the things that he has done. Getting Luis Robert was a big deal. Getting Eloy Jimenez for Jose Quintana and Dylan Cease was a big deal. I think he's filling in the gaps where I still believe that his scouting department is just not living up to the billing on what they need to be at to continually build a competitive team, but Rick Hahn has found those pieces. So I give Rick Hahn a lot of credit for a GM that should have been fired. He has learned his mistakes. He is moving forward. and he is trying to sign a player that we would have never envisioned signing with the White Sox in our lifetime, in Manny Machado. So I will give Rick Hahn a second chance. Rick Renteria, I don't know how he's going to work with Manny Machado, and we'll see how that works. But you know what? If it doesn't, if Joe Girardi picks up the phone and calls Rick Hahn and says, "Hey man, I'm interested in coming back. I'd like to be your manager." I don't know how Rick Hahn says no to that. But again, the whole loyalty to a fault with the White Sox, whether they're my guys or not, they're going to be the GM and manager duo for the foreseeable future.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I agree with pretty much all of that, except I think Rick Renteria is going to beat the shit out of Manny Machado. I don't think he's a great manager. I just think he's old school, and he'll handle that shit.
Now, do you think it's Omar Vizquel that's the future manager?
No, I do not.
No, I think it's that kid.
Justin Jershling.
Yeah.
That's what I think
that's who they're looking at. Because I think they're setting up Omar Vizquel to go coach somewhere else.
I think Omar is going to coach somewhere else.
It is very nice of them what they're doing with him, and it's basically what the Cubs did with Ryan Sandberg, right? Where they're like, we'll give you this opportunity. You look good. We'll promote you through the ranks, and someone will give you a job.
You'll have the best players along the way, so it'll cover all your faults.
It won't be us. It won't be us doing it. And I think the young kid is who they're actually looking at.
And Kim and I are hoping to make it down to Charlotte, and I'll make it my way to Winston-Salem. It'll be great to chat with Justin Jershling and get to know him. It's so weird that the New York Times profiled him in a story for coaching an A-level team in Kannapolis, North Carolina. But yeah, just to get a chance to meet him, and but with Omar Vizquel, if the Birmingham Barons do really well again this year, and I think that they will. I think a team's going to give him a chance of either being a bench coach or being a manager next year.
I love it. And we are going to transition directly from really great baseball talk that we just had with Josh into B-Flow talking some ridiculous shit about the Twitter tournament.
Okay, so quick announcement. This won't take very long. So the White Sox Twitter Personalities Tournament is coming back. We debuted it in 2017.
Do not pair me with Future Sox in the first round.
You will not have Future Sox in the first round. We've been working on the bracket.
So Jim first round.
Last year was a 32-team tournament. This year we've expanded to 65 teams.
Jesus.
Don't count my math there. But as we worked on it, as we went round and round, like Tevin Campbell as a podcast, we couldn't get down to 65. So
can I input something right
there?
Go
for it. Get in there.
That's
peg him.
That's awesome. I think it's really cool. Like last year, we pieced together 32 people into the tournament, and we were like, this is all the people we really know on Twitter. There was some people we left out. Obviously, we could have probably put it to 40. This year, White Sox Twitter has grown so much. There are so many new blogs. There's so many new podcasts. There's so many new people just paying attention. So many people commenting and being a part of White Sox Twitter. It's 100-loss team, and they're having this kind of growth in social media. Yeah. It's ridiculous, and I love it.
It is,
and
insane.
I think if they get good, it's going to be outrageous. And you know what? People are going to move from being the casual Cubs fan to being the casual White Sox fan. It's going to happen if they get good. I can see it happening.
The vibe at SoxFest was very positive too. I didn't mention that, but people weren't asking really. I know you were at, Josh. You were at a lot of the seminars. People weren't asking hard questions or mean questions or being really combative,
obtuse.
Yeah,
I was.
Nobody asked Rick Renteria if he has a pulse.
No, I mean they literally
that's a positive thing.
There was a very good, happy vibe. But it's also, people that are putting out some coin to be there. So you're not putting out coin to something that you don't like, normally, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Right.
So what we decided to do with, so we have 4 regions. So what we decided to do with 3 of the regions, not the 108 region, but with the celebrities region, the blogger podcast region, and the fans region, is to have some play-in games. So we're going to start these play-in games probably sometime in the middle of February.
It's going to be like conference tournament, basically.
It's almost like conference tournament. So if you're in one of these, there'll be 4 in each one. There'll be a Twitter poll, just like we do the normal White Sox Twitter Personalities Tournament. If you're in one of these, you've got to win it in order to get in the tournament. If you lose, you're out. Okay, so the field is pretty much set except for these 4 spots, which we're going to do 4 playing games for. So be watching out for that. If you end up in one of them, or if you end up not in the tournament, no worries. Next year, you'll still be available to be in a tournament. And look, it's a tough field to get into, okay? There's probably 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 people on White Sox Twitter, and there's only 64 or 65 spots in this thing. So, like...
Easily 100,000.
Easily 100,000.
There are 900,000 followers of the White Sox Twitter account. So there's that many people out there.
I am that guy with the whole fiasco about the whole fake Twitter account. I did look up the White Sox to see how many of their followers are fake.
How many?
They were on the higher side of real followers. Like 67% of their followers are real. Like they wouldn't be considered bots. The Toronto Blue Jays were at 49% real followers.
Easily.
That's
I did it.
I'm
dragging them under the mud on hour 3 of this podcast, and not.
That's the Jose Batista account, because everyone
probably
on Twitter is followed by Jose Batista.
Yes.
It's like Tom on MySpace.
Yeah.
Like you sign up for Twitter and Jose Batista follows.
Just say a lot of Russian bots enjoy Toronto baseball.
So weird.
Respect. So anyway, we're playing games. That's going to be coming up soon, next couple weeks.
All right. So let's
get ready.
Let's get back to baseball, and let's get to the hot stove and how much it fucking sucks. And let's just brainstorm, guys. How do we fix the bullshit hot stove, right? Like, I mean, people, if you had some ideas previously, and then, like, the CBA's coming up, how do we fix this shit? How do we make the hot stove awesome? How do we, like, make it exciting instead of, like, making it this dragging on, everyone bemoaning things, mystery team bullshit? Like, how do we fix it? How do we get there? I'm going to start with my Sox Summit.
Fuck you. You're straight fucking dick.
All right, we'll start with people.
You know I have absolutely nothing for this because I'm like, what do we...
You were so into just like listening to some shit, and you're like, oh, go ahead, dude.
We'll start with B-Flow.
So I blasted a blog post back in February of 2018 entitled "Fuck the Commissioner," which was aimed at fixing some of the competitive problems in baseball. So every league preaches parity, and even the NFL, who tries to do all the salary capping in it, they don't have parity, whatever. And so I was looking at some things in MLB and just sort of like, how do we avoid... Like, last few years, we've had so many teams trying to lose and only a handful of teams that really are in contention for the title every year. So I was like, how do you fix that? So I put a list of 5 things together. I'll go through them quickly. Number 1, I would flip the draft order. I would go inverse draft order. First team to miss the playoffs, you get the number 1 pick. Value winning over... absolute losing. I don't want to watch the Baltimore Orioles. No one wants to watch that fucking bullshit, all right? Number 2, the MLB profit sharing, MLB welfare, effectively, you don't get anything unless you win 70 games. So if you totally tank, you don't get shit. No, you get none of the profit sharing. Number 3, and this will require the teams to submit financials to the league office. So we would, as fans, wouldn't get to see them, although we should, because almost every team is sort of like... a public utility because they're getting something from the county or city that they're living in. But I would realign along revenue lines. So put the divisions set up so that if you're the high revenue team in a division, you don't get to just pound on everyone. You got to be with the other big boys in that division, and then the lower revenue teams are all going to house together. Number 2, if MLB is going to have a salary cap, give me a Larry Bird exception. Let me sign my own free agent for anything, and it doesn't count against the cap.
I like that one.
And the last one, you get a penalty for being the team with the absolute worst record in the league. So even if everyone hops to 70 wins, you have the worst record, you lose a couple home games. You get dinked all that revenue from the home games. Fuck you, we'll ship them out to someone else, or the top team who wins the most gets those home games, and they get to cash in
You play those games in Mexico City.
Yeah, exactly. You figure out a way.
London.
Yeah, exactly. Or ship the game out to wherever you want. These are things that...
Actually, you play that game in Honduras, and if your players get their heads chopped off, that's your fault for losing that many games.
The league is never going to adopt shit like this because the commissioner is owned by the owners. But if you had a commissioner that really was looking out for baseball's wellness, then you could get some of this stuff. So I throw it out to the rest of the group. How do you make it better? And we're worried about a strike. And my position initially is the incentives are all wrong. We could try to fix nominal things with salary or free agency, but really, you need all the teams to try to win in order for this shit to work, in my opinion.
Josh, you got...
I like those ideas. They're very interesting. The two ideas that I have, I look at this from a MLB Players Association point of view. Because from the owners, you don't want to change anything, right? You are winning.
Yeah, they love it.
You
as
are winning
it
the
is.
CBA.
Oh, yeah, they are.
There's two. Introduce a salary floor. The salary floor is $100 million. As we speak today, there are 9 teams in Major League Baseball that will not be carrying a $100 million payroll into the 2019 season. It's the Cleveland Indians, Kansas City Royals, the Chicago White Sox, the San Diego Padres, the Oakland A's, the Miami Marlins, the Baltimore Orioles, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Tampa Bay Rays. So right now the Rays' payroll is $42 million. We know the White Sox want to sign Manny Machado, so if they do sign Manny Machado, obviously they get
fine.
out of this group.
Right.
If you do not carry a $100 million payroll, you pay a 35% tax on the difference between your payroll and the $100 million.
I like it.
So the Tampa Bay Rays at this moment would be paying a tax of $20.3 million to Major League Baseball. Now, if you're the Rays, do you want to pay that $20 million tax, or do you want to go and sign some players?
Right.
If you're the Cleveland Indians, you're $4 million below. Would you go ahead and sign that middle-aged reliever for $5 million to avoid the tax?
Of course you would.
I think this would help speed up free agency. And I'll be quite frank, with all the cash that is flowing through Major League Baseball today, if you are an owner and you cannot support a $100 million payroll, you need to get the hell out. Because you're terrible with finances, you're terrible with money.
It's a rub.
Or you're seriously just stashing cash away and you're providing...
You're rent-seeking. You're just collecting.
Right, you're exactly.
So much money.
Exactly.
So much
I don't know, guys. I feel for the owners.
All right.
I'm just kidding.
My crazy idea that I think would just break every GM. Every baseball player becomes a free agent at the age of 28. Now, on how this would work, they would like the international signings because they sign these kids at 16 years old. I get 12 years of control.
Right.
I draft a college player. I most likely only have 6 or 7 years of control, so I need to hurry up here. And if I'm the Players Association, the first 2 years you're in the major leagues, you make minimum. However, year 3, you start hitting arbitration. You get out of this Super 2 bullcrap. Let me use the example of Juan Soto. Juan Soto is going to be 20 years old this year. He's going to make minimum. In 2020, he's in arbitration 1. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. The Washington Nationals are super pumped. We got the star player until he's 28 years old. We got control of him for the next 8 to 9 years. But he's going to hit arbitration level 8. Okay? He's going to make serious cash. We need to sign him to a long-term contract, or we need to seriously consider trading him. And this is in the favor of the player because they're going to make more cash this way, and they can get long-term security this way if every player turns free agent at the age of 28. Now, on this podcast, the favorite player is Daniel Polka. Polka is 27 years old entering 2019, meaning that after the 2020 season, when he's 28 years old, Polka can decide to be a free agent. He would be a free agent. And it give him a better opportunity to strike a long-term deal. Because right now, with the current process, he's in arbitration hell.
Yeah.
He's in the position that Matt Davidson and Avisaíl Garcia is in, and you don't quite know if the White Sox are going to tender your contract.
Right.
If they don't tender your contract, then you're stuck with everybody else until mid-January, late January, not knowing where you're going to play. So I think that the positive here is that the players can get an opportunity, 1, to make more money, or 2, get better long-term deals with their current ball club. The third point, though, the GMs will definitely manipulate service time when it comes to international and high school players.
For sure.
May force high school players to go into college because they have to be there for 3 years, refine their skills. But I could see where teams will not sit on college players. They will have to rush them to the system because if you're 21 or 22, I can't have you pissing away 2 years in AA. I only have control of you until you're 28 years old. So we're going to ramp you up to the system. So we could see fewer high school players drafted in Major League Baseball and more of them go to college.
I mean, they pay less for them.
Yeah, so there's
that's sort of the NHL.
Positive and negatives.
It is a 27-year-old cap. I think
that is where I got it
free
from.
agent, right?
Yeah.
Well, you could also, in regards to that, and in regards to the international players, is you could get rid of the draft, and then just everyone is a free agent. You could sign whoever you need to sign.
I have heard that argument many times before, and I have to advise against that if you're a White Sox fan, because that is a guaranteed way of the White Sox being in living hell
Never gonna get
forever.
Because
they would not outspend the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Braves in getting this amateur talent. They'd be consistently stuck with late first round, second round guys.
That's not 100%
counts,
true.
right?
If you listen, for the second part of what I was going to say was we should start adopting what most international soccer teams do, which is if you want a player from another team,
the transfer system.
Yes, you can buy out that player, and that player gets a percentage of that, right? So, like a few years back, I mean, like a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo was making less than a Ben Roethlisberger, right?
Yep.
Even though Christian was a way bigger star,
Yeah.
right? But the way his contract was structured, if someone were to buy him out, which seemed insane because it was like $1 billion buyout or whatever the fuck it was, if someone were to buy him out, he got 10% of that. It happened. And he made some outrageous fucking amount of money being bought out and going to another team. If you had a situation like that, you could see guys going to a White Sox or a Rays or a Royals on a smaller contract, but with a huger percentage of a buyout, right? Like if you said, you know what, hey, we're going to sign you to a 10-year contract, you're going to make $2 million a year, but your buyout's going to be 25% of whatever someone buys you out for. So that is a player betting on themselves, and they go into it going, all right, I make $2 million a year, but if I'm a star, someone's going to pay $100 million for me. I'm going to make $25 million in 2 seconds.
And the White Sox make $75 million, and they're still terrible. And we're rooting for a still terrible
But here's
team.
the thing. Here's the thing. That's how the terrible teams build up more revenue to go out and get more and more of these guys. And
just pocket it.
Some of those guys,
I think they pocket.
Well, some of the times it will be
in the U.S.
team
they pocket it.
just pocketing it.
They
But
do it in England, too.
They do, but some teams will push it back into their team and make a really good team.
Because in the Premiership, it's Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, Man U.
Yeah,
those are like 6 teams that mean
Who was
anything.
the team that was
Leicester
the big
City.
underdog and came back and won it?
Leicester City. That was a total fluke.
Leicester City came into the league and then won it. Immediately.
Yes.
Oh, but also there's
nobody else is a serious contender. Other
What's
than
his face? Shad Khan bought Fulham, and they immediately got relegated. Which relegation would be awesome, but they're never going to agree to something like that.
The White Sox would be the International League right now.
And what you were saying, Josh, is not necessarily true. Back when you could pay anything for amateurs and you would get penalized, the White Sox still didn't spend, but teams like the Rays did spend, and they did go over the penalty, and they weren't doing what the Red Sox were doing, but they were sneakily getting above it and paying some penalties, and we're building up a farm system.
Who was running the Rays at that time?
Yeah, well, he's in.
Oh, the guy that's running the Dodgers,
That's
who
right.
could possibly be facing federal charges. Yeah, Andrew Friedman. Yeah, that wasn't a Rays thing. That was an Andrew Friedman.
That's
thing.
correct, but it doesn't preclude the smaller market teams from actually spending.
No, it
in
does-
the situation because it's still cheaper.
Right, but
still gonna be cheaper for
but the data doesn't lie. We know how these owners spend and what they want to spend money on. And after Andrew Friedman left, the Rays haven't been making those same type of investments. And
No. Well, I mean,
this
they're
new
also blocked
international
by the rules.
yeah, the new international spending cap obviously gets everyone in the same level playing field. And again, all these things work in the White Sox favor, a team that was reluctant to spend. Now we can actually compete with you guys because we're comfortable spending in this margin. So that's why I understand getting rid of the draft. Players will make more money and just be
Less
a free-for-all. But for the less backflips, yeah. but for the White Sox, if you're a White Sox fan, you don't want to see that because if it wasn't for the draft, I don't know how much. I don't know about the quality of players they would bring in from the amateur side.
Now, if you're looking at this from the perspective like the owners have to agree to this, this is how I was looking at sort of redoing the service time thing. So they're never going to agree to anything that costs them a lot more money in the short term. They're all going to want to have some control or extra control or cheaper control for some time. So I would suggest something like this. No arbitration. Fucking throw arbitration out. You've got 4 control years. Lower the minimum, which I hate to do because I think it's terrible. But I think it's the only way you get them to agree. So you go 4 control years, lower minimum, salary of $500,000. After the 4 years, boom, everyone else is a free agent. They're out there. I think you end up getting those players paid more representative of their talent level. And they'll be younger when they get out there. You can only hold a guy for so long. At some point, they're exposed to the 40-man, or they're exposed to Rule 5, and players have to change hands. So there's nowhere to hide there, basically. You draft what you draft, but you can't go too far hiding these people. You can't hide them much longer than what you were saying of the 28-year-old situation.
Yeah. Well, with the salary floor idea, I know that would start a war in the owner's room. Because the ones I would be happy about seeing a salary floor would be the Yankees, Red Sox, even Cubs, Phillies, Giants. Because these teams that carry $180, $190, $200 million payrolls would look at the Rays, the Pirates, and Marlins, and the A's like they always do, and be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yes.
You constantly keep taking our revenue to put you in the black. So I think that's where the Players Association needs to focus on. Like, getting rid of arbitration, that might be something of interest to the owners because it is very unpredictable and they don't want to go to arbitration court. But would their GMs be okay with just having 4 years of control? Especially with Eloy Jimenez, they're kind of be like, all right, I need you next year, not this year. So enjoy Charlotte.
You're staying down there, right? You're going to see some of that stuff. The Rays already sort of do that. The Rays are like the test case, right? They already hold guys down. Like Willie Adames was like down there way longer than he should have been, and like they got lucky that Brent Honeywell got hurt, so they could hold him an extra year down in the minors. Like, if you want to see how this will play out, just look at the Tampa Rays the last 5 years, and you'll see them holding the fuck onto people that should have been in the majors.
But they are in trouble. I mean, the Rays. I understand the success they had last year. And that was great for them, but they are in trouble as a franchise. They don't have a future stadium home. Their last bid to the commissioner's office was shot down. Hey, we got this idea for a 35,000 seat stadium. Nope, I don't like it. You can't have it. They're out of ideas because people don't understand that Tampa Bay is actually the world headquarters for the New York Yankees. The Steinbrenners love Tampa, so they built their corporate world headquarters in Tampa. So Tampa is New York Yankees territory.
So Yankees and Scientologists.
Yeah.
All right.
The rest of Florida are Braves fans from Turner days. So I think in 5 to 10 years the Rays are going to have to move out of Tampa.
To Vegas.
Vegas, Montreal, Portland.
Yeah.
Portland's
already
all places that the White Sox are going to
building
go.
a stadium.
But I guess to kind of wrap up the segment with the hot stove and
Fuck that! I got shit. Hold on.
All right.
Okay. No, go ahead.
That's how it always goes.
The players are in a bad spot right now, but I think from the agents, what they're trying to do is protect their clients and try to get maximum dollar value because
which they should.
Their pitch to their clients is, this is your one shot. This is your one shot to get a mega contract. But it's also that agent shot to get their one shot of getting mega payday.
For sure.
Because if Manny Machado signs a $250 million contract, his agent's getting $25 million.
Right. And this is going to be the first time Scott Boras ever makes money with Bryce Harper.
Well, yeah, right. But these big deals are tough to get done, and I can understand why this will last into February. But that shouldn't prevent other teams to go out and sign a Dallas Keuchel or get a Craig Kimbrell or short the market and go ahead and sign Mike Moustakas if you got a spot at third base that you need to fill, and you're not going to be serious about spending cash on Manny Machado. I don't understand why this continues to keep dragging on, other than the fact that all GMs are the same these days, and they are these Ivy Leaguers who are better suited to be CFOs on companies than they are to be general managers.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And one last parting point there. I think that organizations in general, with the exception of a few, Mets and Phillies and et cetera, that are actually out there spending, they realize they're going to have to pay the piper in 2021. There's going to be no work stoppage. They know they got to give some money in. So right now they're housing it. Right now they're saying, we're not going to pay what we don't have to pay, because we know we're going to have to pay that shit the next time we sign this contract. Because they don't want to stop this gravy train. They want this thing to keep fucking rolling. And so they're going to wait. And then they'll have to pay because they'll have to.
Wrap it up, my section.
No, I don't have anything really to add other than I was going to try to crowbar the Evan Longoria shit that went down on the Instagram, where he was arguing about how players needed to get paid more. And then that people that argued back with him and that can totally are no, you guys aren't worth it. You aren't worth it. And it's well, you own.
Then you're saying the owner is.
Ownership.
You own a team and you're making 8 times more than what this player will ever make in his life, in a half a second.
Yeah.
Why don't the players deserve it? They're the ones that are making the money. They're the ones that are driving the sales. I've never bought a Jerry Reinsdorf jersey. I will never buy, any of an owner's jerseys whatsoever. So I'm not going to talk about that. But I also just focused on the last part of your question in our outline, which was make baseball great again in the game in general. And I said, fuck that shit. We don't need to fix the game. The game is fine. What is going on the field in baseball is okay. We don't need to speed up innings. We don't need to do this kind of shit.
I agree with you.
America needs to learn how to fucking be patient with things. And
baseball fans are in general.
Exactly. What is the number one sport in the entire world? It's fucking soccer. Yeah. It's boring as fucking shit. Okay, so it is. It is. I'm sorry, Treasy. I know that's your brothers and your brethren and all this bullshit, but it's fucking goddamn boring. And so is baseball, for the most part, right? But when shit happens, it's fucking epic. When that guy kicks a fucking goal, everyone goes nuts. You got these guys down in Mexico that say goal for 37 minutes straight. So let's not. We don't need to change this up. Fuck that shit. We don't need an MTV rock jock version of MLB baseball. Okay, right. We need to keep things a little bit more traditional. And I don't give a shit if kids like it or they don't fucking like it, because they'll end up liking it, because you know why? You can eat fucking cotton candy for fucking almost 3.5 hours. You can eat the shit out of Dippin' Dots for about 3 hours. You can drink all the fucking sodas you want. There's a fucking place to go run around, and your dad's gonna be fucking hammered, and he's gonna buy you a $47 t-shirt when you fucking leave.
The dad you're talking about is either me or you,
both
or possibly both of us.
Yeah. You're probably buying shirts for both our kids, so no big deal. Baseball's more about bullshit than it is about anything else. So it's about hanging out, it's about talking the shit, eating a fucking ice cream sundae and sitting down in the 108 like Mr. Nosh Jelson does.
It is time for the OT question.
Yes.
And that question this week is, tell me a piece of advice given to you that you frequently think of. And this could be good or bad advice. I'm going to go straight around the horn. I'm going to go B-Flow first.
Excellent. So this was a very specific piece of advice given to me by our father, Mad Max. We were going to a show at the Aragon. We were going to see Soundgarden play. And Mad Max told me as we were driving up there, the 18-year-old version of me, 1996, he says, make sure when you drive up there You just find the first pay lot, and you go in there and park and pay for the parking. So I thought to myself, fuck my old man, he don't know shit. We're all driving up there. It's me and Teresi and
Vinny Baseball,
our lawyer,
Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah, Dr. Feelgood, the four of us. Drive up there. I decide I'm not taking that lot. I'm going to drive around. Now, this is uptown in the mid-'90s. A little different than uptown right now. So I drove through some residential area. I'm coming out of there. And we get stuck behind a couple of other cars. And we might have been in front of sort of a sketchy-looking place. There were some guys standing out there. And a couple guys come running out from there. And they slam their hands on the hood of my car and start screaming at us. One guy starts reaching for the side pocket. And we're all terrified as shit. Now, luckily, the car in front of me moved, so I had a chance to go. So I hit the gas, jetted out into Lawrence Avenue. No idea what I'm going to find out there. And went just out into the intersection and took off. And jetted around a bus. And then pulled into the parking area that my dad told me I should take and just pay for. As we breathed heavy and just relaxed in that spot. And I thought to myself, my dad knows more than I do, probably about everything, so I should shut the fuck up and just take his fucking advice. Great show, by the way. Soundgarden rocked it out. Couldn't hear the next day. I don't know about you, Treasy.
I mean, it was both. I couldn't hear, and I was still terrified for my life after having a gun like 3 feet from my face.
So that's advice that, since then, I listen a little closer to my old man. So.
That area's been gentrified, by the way.
Yes, that's what you say. It's it's very different.
It's like mid-'90s.
Very different mid-'90s versus now.
Yeah. I think the best advice that I've ever gotten was from. This is kind of sad. My best friend in school, his dad passed away with cancer, and my last visit with him, he told me, Josh, you can accomplish anything that you put your mind to it. And I think that's the best advice, because I think that's true. Because it's just not a matter of like wishing, like if you have the drive and, again, being stubborn, if you just stick with things, it will eventually pan out and turn out to be as good as you thought it would be, or even better. Like the Section 108, the success that you guys have had with that. The worst advice that I've ever gotten, and I'm sure everyone's gotten this advice, is don't burn bridges, right? I find that to be false.
I agree with this.
You need to understand what bridges you just simply need to napalm in your life.
I agree.
And just because if you don't burn bridges, that really means that you always stay in contact with everybody. And there are just some people in your life that are just not good for you. And I think everybody needs to learn on those types of people that are good for you, those types of people you are good for them.
Right.
And if it's not going to work out, be like, well, you know what? There are 7 billion people in this world.
Peace out.
Good luck with your life. And I'll go my way, you go your way, and we'll be fine. So
I for one am shocked that Beef Loaf agrees with us. I'm just shocked. Knowing the man, I am shocked.
I just can't believe this is the way Josh is breaking up with us.
It's like, fuck your drunk asses.
My soft summer, fuck you. I just know when to tell people to fuck off, all right? At some point, people become harmful to you, and
yes.
you get rid of them.
Yes,
okay? That's my life philosophy.
Right.
My sock summer?
I think the best advice, well, I mean, they're both the best advice, but my father once told me I wanted to pitch when I was like in Little League, and I was on the cusp, on the age of August 20th birthday, so I always was with kids that were a year older than me. So I was never good enough to pitch because all these other kids were like a fucking year older than me. So like I couldn't pitch, and I remember being so like distraught that like I just want to fucking throw a baseball. And my dad like would came home one time, and I remember just being bummed out because I had just gotten put on a lower team and I was killing it. And the guy's like, "Oh, you can pitch. You're gonna be a pitcher." And then they're like, "Yeah, no, you can't because you're actually like a year older." Blah blah blah, whatever. So my dad was like, "There's always gonna be somebody better than you at what you're doing, and there's always gonna be somebody worse at you than what you're doing. So just recognize that and know that you're gonna kill in some areas. In some areas, you're gonna fucking suck, right? So." That's good. But the best advice I ever got from like in recent history was like before I had my first daughter. I was talking with Farmer Matt, and I expressed to him that I was like, yo, I don't know how I'm going to do this as a father. And Farmer Matt has 3 kids. He has 2 boys and a girl. And his oldest is 9. But he told me, he's like, hey, just think about all these other assholes that have kids and how fucking awful these people are. He's like, and they have good kids. Like you'll know good kids that came from bad families, right? He's like, so if they're bad parents and they still produce good kids, you're gonna be fine because you're a good person. So like, don't even fucking worry about it. And I was like, you're 100% correct.
I got the same advice from our buddy Haas when we were having Olivia. He's like, look, there's a lot of fucked up people out there.
Yeah.
You're not one of them.
Right.
You're going to be fine. Don't worry about this.
Yeah, so I think about that a lot when my daughter won't pick up her toys or my other daughter's eating Play-Doh. I'm like, I'm really not the worst parent because somebody else would probably fucking hit you. I'm not going to hit you or make you stand outside, and it's fine.
So I think a piece of advice that I got, which I think it's a common thing that you hear entrepreneurs say is like, no one cares as much about your business as you do, right? Like that thing. But I worked, I used to work at this record label, and it was just me and the owner. And so Martin, who's the owner, he told me one time, he took a little different spin on it, and he said, if you ever want to do something in your life, you have to do it yourself because no one else gives a shit about what you want. And I was like, that's a more direct way of saying that, and that's a more true way of saying it. Because when you hear no one's going to care about it as much as you kind of get the idea of like, well, they're still going to care, right?
But
they're
not
still
as much as you.
Just not as much as I do. So
Yeah.
they're going to put in the 60 hours to my 100 hours, and it's going to be fine. He was like, no, like if you come up with something that you want to do, if you don't take it from start to finish, no one else is going to fucking help you because everyone else is going to look at your idea, if it's a good idea, and go, that's a bullshit idea. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't care about that idea.
Or
I
they'll
care about
steal it
my ideas.
and do it right.
Someone who's gonna care about it enough to take it the full length has their own idea that they want to fucking
That next level.
right? So that was one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got. And I was like, yeah, that I get that because like I want to now say I'm not going to depend on anyone else for this. It's my thing. I got to take it. Right. The worst piece of advice that I ever got was actually from one of your coworkers, Pat. It was
drink.
Yeah, I got it. So we were out one time. It was one of the companies you were working for. I can't remember which company it was, but they were
Pink
downsized.
Monkey.
And one of your coworkers was talking about how everything's fucked up and like, you got to watch your back and everything at work. And I was like, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about shit like that where like, oh, I might lose my job tomorrow. And they told me, you should always think you could lose your job. And I just remember thinking, that is a horrible way to live your life. Like the stress that you're putting on yourself right now is just incredible. Like, and the fact that like your esteem is that low of like, you know what? I think I've been doing a good job, but someone's gonna walk through that door, just fucking fire me any minute.
Anyone that walks through that door,
I just thought like that is like I can't drink enough to outrun that stress. So like I'm just gonna not believe that. And I'm going to go about my business the way I've been going about it. And it's worked out. So I think it's about time for us to pay some of our own bills, actually.
Hey, it's cold out there. Do you need a hoodie? An extended size 108 shirt? Well, go to our online store and buy one. We have black and gray hoodies up to size 3XL. Yep. All you big guys, you can get
Fat.
We have hashtag 108 shirts up to 6XL. So if you are, go to our Twitter and click on the pinned post. It ships really fast because I'm the one that ships it. And you'll be warm in no time. And if you're in between sizes, go one size larger if you want a room on the hoodies. Profits from our store are put back into the pot and we make more awesome fucking merch. So just buy our shit. We got some really good ideas for 2019, but if you don't buy the shit that we made in 2018, you ain't never going to see it. So get your ass to our fucking Twitter, go to the pin post, buy a goddamn fucking hoodie, and then we'll make you more good shit in 2019. All right. Beef Loaf. It's going to shout some motherfuckers out?
That's
What's
right, baby.
up?
It's time for the shout-out. So the shout-out is birthed by the fact that there was a long time ago, 3 years ago, basically, in which none of you motherfuckers were following us, but some people were. And it built up over time. So one of our guys has been following us for a long time, and the man was out there working in record cold weather today. So I was watching him on Twitter. I was at home. I was working my laptop remotely and yelling at my daughter and talking to my wife, and this guy was out there working, driving a truck, and updating people on what was going on out there. Our buddy, fan since 1962, at MARES62J. The man was out there working the whole day, showing us like what warmers he was using and like combating the cold. We took a great picture with him last year.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yes, he loves
guy.
Treasy. He's a big Treasy fan. He tried to get us to come out to a spot down in Joliet called Izzy's for a Bears game. It didn't work out, so we had planned to go down there, and then the Rams game was the game we were going to go down there. It got moved to a night game, so we didn't get a chance to head down there. So if you're listening, we're going to come down there. Next year we'll come down there and hang for a game. Shots are on us. I know you wanted to buy shots. We'll buy shots. You can buy beers. So we're going to come down there. We want to give a shout out to our guy. He was out there busting it in this terrible cold weather. So this is what we like to do. We like to give shout outs to the White Sox Twitter folks, especially those ones that are working extra hard out there.
Yeah.
And now it's time for last call. This is a question,
Yes.
whatever question you're kind of come up with.
Statement.
So I'm going to start out with my Sox summer,
right.
and we're going to go back from third all the way back to first.
Sweet. So I just want to shout out our man DP, Daniel Palka, again for all the awesome shit he did with this weekend for the fans. I want to give some big ups to the White Sox too. I think if you aren't paying attention, it's just hard to see all that they do for the fans to make this experience great. I think kids are taken care of. I think adults are taken care of. They're doing all these little things that they don't really get credit for. People are going to remember Tommy and Thomas. They ain't going to remember fucking the fact that Daniel Palka signed till 3 a.m. in the fucking lobby. They're not going to remember all the awesome things that they gave away to every single person that walked in that social lounge, at SoxFest. I'm just really impressed what they did in the off season to make our field better. The Goose Island area, and that's fine. The vibe at SoxFest is between the fans and the Sox is like really good too. I think it's really going to look good going forward. This is a small story from SoxFest I didn't share earlier. I was going to get an Uber on Saturday night, and outside is one Michael Kopech Jr. and one Michael Kopech Sr. And they are just standing there all by their lonesome, and it's like there's nobody around them, there's nobody talking to them, and it's a dad and his son. And his son, like, for me, like I gave him a little shit last year, and it wasn't necessarily directed directly towards him, but it was just like, hey, let's just be consistent. If we're going to do something that's out of the norm, let's be consistent. But he, I talked with Mike, senior or junior, and I said, it was just talking to him, and you realize that this kid is in his early 20s, and he has so much fucking pressure on his shoulders.
He does.
Like I said to him, I'm like, what do you think about this? I asked him, I talked about some bullshit, and we can get into that later, at a different date. But the big thing that I did say to him was like, hey, how are your pups? And he's like, oh, they're fucking in Arizona right now. He's like, away from this bullshit weather. And it's like, okay. And he's just talking. He's talking like a normal person. And like, the whole time that he's talking, and the whole SoxFest event, Mike Sr. is like off to the side of the stage just looking at his son, and he is just like, he's got to be beaming. Because here's your kid that's just like, I feel like from last year to this year, Mike has just grown so much. Like, and I continually think he's going to come full circle and continue to grow and just become a better person, like year after year, because it just seems like he is. And we just talked bullshit, and then they got into a Lincoln Navigator and fucking split off. And but yeah, it was cool to see a guy and his dad looking at him like being really proud, which I'm sure my father feels the same way about me when he listens to our podcast. And he's like, that's my son talking about the ugliest porn star that he's fapped to at least 2 times. So yeah, no, it was really cool.
Follow that up, Josh.
Okay, so we're heading to the 2019 season. A lot of White Sox fans are going to go on BaseballReference.com because BaseballReference.com provides advanced metrics for minor league performance. Do not fall into that hole, because I will call you out and tell you how big of an idiot you are if you are quoting a double-A hitter on how their weighted runs created plus is. Let me remind you.
I almost brought this up earlier.
That weighted runs created plus is for that league. A 100 is average at double-A. An average double-A player is not a major leaguer. So if you're telling me somebody is at 128 compared to 100 and say that's really good, it's really fucking not. Okay? Eloy Jimenez was in the 200s for weighted runs created plus. Nobody uses that. This is what everybody uses if you're going to scout the scout line. Ready? Walk rate, strikeout rate, on-base percentage, slugging. That's it. Those are the only 4 numbers that matter. If you're not going to watch the games, just look at those 4 numbers. Because if you're striking out a lot, you ain't going far. If you're walking, that gives us an idea that you understand that you're not supposed to swing at shitty pitches. And if your slugging is really high, then it tells that if you see a shitty pitch, you can crush it. That's it. And if you're not good at those 4 numbers, you're not going to make it to the major leagues. Because I can tell you this right now. Tim Anderson hit above 310 in Double-A. And everybody just talks about how poor his contact skills are. And his contact skills are poor in the major leagues. If you're a first rounder that hits 210 in Double-A, I have no idea how poor you're going to hit when you get to the major leagues. And now that I've heard that Zach Collins is going to get promoted to AAA, I think this is being too aggressive. So I know that I'm harping on one particular prospect, but this goes on to everybody, not only in the White Sox organization, but for those that cover the White Sox prospects. Those are the only 4 numbers that matter. If you're not going to watch the games and you're just going to scout the stat line, remember, walk rate, strikeout rate, on-base percentage, slugging. That's it. That's what anybody cares about. And these are numbers coming from scouts, from director of amateur scouting, their bosses, and from guys that have been covering the prospects for decades.
Hey, Josh.
I'm
so glad you said that, because I saw an article recently where I was looking at those exact numbers that you said not to follow. I'm thinking, is that really representative?
Hold on a second. You know what's funny? When you said the 128, plus 128, I was like laughing to myself because Beefloaf said he sent me that number, that exact number. And he's like, but this guy strikes out at this fucking rate. And it's like, what? And I was like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. And now I hear that and I'm like, yep, it didn't make any sense. That was total bullshit. Someone spewed that out, and it was garbage. And I'm glad that you called it out.
It's not good enough. You need to be at close to 200 to make it seem. You need to be 100% better than the average double-A-er. Because average at double-A does not get you to the major league.
Hell no.
Oh, of course not. I mean,
average at AAA doesn't get you to major league.
Right. No, you're Dallas McPherson if you're a little bit above average.
You are. And, yeah, just... There'll be more coming in the next couple of weeks at SoxMachine. I'll be kicking off the 2019 Major League Baseball draft coverage. One of the things that I'm going to be writing about is mining for diamonds, mining for these top-end prospects, and I have all of this data to shine into White Sox Twitter, and I'm a bit worried on who's actually going to accept it because it will debunk a lot of things that even I thought of. And there's been a lot of things that I have been wrong about covering the draft that after doing this data analysis, coming out of it is like, I think Major League Baseball teams are not drafting properly.
Oh, I look really forward
I'm
to this
excited
shit
for that.
right here.
I'm excited for that.
Are you also going to compare Carson Fulmer to a Hall of Famer? That's all I want.
If Carson Fulmer gets traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers, maybe. But
Like any Hall of Famer, like Joe Namath, is he gonna assault Susie Colbert? Beef Loaf, let's hear yours.
All right, so this is actually going to be a question for the group.
okay.
So I was reflecting on the Goose Island 43-yard field goal challenge, which was hilarious on Twitter. I was shocked that no one made it. Okay, I was shocked that there wasn't some former college kicker that was like, I'm going to get beer for a year, beer for life, whatever. Now, the conditions sucked, and they had a fence up that would mimic a line trying to block it or whatever. But it made me realize how hard professional sports are. So I'm going to turn the question to you guys.
You needed to be reminded of that.
Before that, he was like, I could go out there.
No, I did because we watch it and we critique it all the time, and it's not just baseball. So obviously, we all talk about baseball in general on Twitter and in blog posts and on podcasts, but we're also watching other sports and sort of like critiquing it and looking at like, oh, what is this? What is that? Well, pornography is a sport.
Look, my suck summer, when you're watching lacrosse on a Saturday afternoon, you critique.
I wanted to ask you guys, out of the four major sports, which one of these things you think is possible for the average Joe, or more possible for the average Joe? The first one, in the NFL, to gain 1 yard rushing.
No.
In the NBA, to physically make a basket like in an actual game. In the NHL, to register an assist. So not even score a goal, just be someone who passed the puck to someone who scored.
That's absolutely not on the table.
Or in MLB, to make contact with a pitched ball. Which one do you think is most possible?
Wow,
what has to be most possible for an average Joe?
I'm going to go first, and I'm going to go, it's NBA, right? Because
It's definitely not.
Here's why I think that, right?
It's definitely not.
Because if someone passes...
It's the least possible of these.
No.
Guaranteed.
If someone passes you the ball...
Maybe the NHL thing, because you don't know how to skate, but if you know how to skate, that's more possible.
You're out in an area where no one would actually guard you, and you just fucking throw the ball as hard as you can at the basket, it might go in.
Treasy, just think about it this way. Think about how big NBA players are and how fast they are. LeBron James is as fast as the fastest players in NFL.
Here's the thing.
So even the slow guys in the NBA can guard you from 15 feet away and block every shot you ever put up.
But
you have no chance of getting it at the basket.
Most adult men can hit a shot from half court if they get lucky.
Do you have okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Do you actually have an answer and metrics for this or no?
No, I'm gonna guess.
Oh, we're just guessing. Oh, okay.
Guessing. I have no clue.
Because I thought
because
you had,
no, I have no clue. But
an actual
the
answer.
easy answer,
I mean,
which
I don't know.
Treasy bit
Didn't
on.
they have an average Joe's?
What's the NBA
like,
thing?
sports channel or
It's
something?
not true because
They
you would never be open for a shot. You never could get a
Here's
shot
the thing.
off.
I could jack 25 shots from
You're gonna get-
half court.
You could get a shot off.
I could
Yeah.
jack 25 shots from half court, and I'll probably hit one. Right? You see me shoot from half court, you know. But the idea of me skating down and passing to someone who's somehow open for a goal is impossible. Me rushing for a yard against Ndamukong Suh is impossible.
Well, okay.
Disagree with that.
I think that might be the easiest because I think based on he's basing his question, the NBA, it's you. It's solo against professional athletes. It goes nowhere. But in football, you got 5 offensive linemen blocking for
Yes,
you.
you do.
So they give you a prayer.
No, but they don't. They don't. And I'll tell you why. Because unless are you the quarterback in this situation?
You're the running back.
You're the running back.
Then no, because every motherfucker is so much slower than the running back that's going up to the line. Like,
That's true.
If it took the amount of time it takes me to get 7 yards, offensive lines cannot hold guys that long. It's the same as going throw a Hail Mary.
My Sox Summer, what about you?
No, I definitely think that the NFL or the NBA is probably the easiest. Now, like you guys are making a really good point because if you have a good offensive line, like I could probably rush for 3 yards.
That's
like,
right.
I'm not a little guy. Like I could probably go not fast, but we're only talking 9 feet. Like, you put some food down there, and I'm hungry.
You're smaller than Cam Newton, man. It's like
I'm small. I'm smaller than most people in the NBA too.
Well, and also
Right?
you're starting 25 feet back though, because
Oh,
a
yeah,
running back
that's
starts
tough.
7 yards back or
Yeah,
whatever
that's
the fuck.
probably.
So.
I'm going with NBA.
Right? Yeah.
I'm going NBA.
No, you'll
So
never get
it's
open.
not
You'll never be open.
No, you can.
no, because if you're dribbling
up.
up and you're down 25, you could shoot from half court to be wide open.
Listen, there's kids that are special needs that score in high school games all the time. Okay, so like if
You're not special needs. They're not going to leave you wide open.
what I'm saying
In the NBA,
is,
he is.
in this, this poor Jacob got vaccinated when he was a child, and look at him now. You know, so I just used my own name. I got a drink.
I definitely don't think it's baseball. I don't think people understand. All those people are like, well, I hit 91 when I was in high school. Okay, they don't throw 91 today. They do throw 91. It's their slider.
It's a slider, right?
You've never seen
Moving like
anything
that,
like that before.
Good luck.
Not to mention, you watch a fastball, like a regular fastball, if you're behind the plate and you watch that fastball,
don't see it.
the movement on
You
that
can't
thing
see it.
is fucking insane.
And that's the thing.
You blink and that thing's gone. Like you don't even see it.
You got to guess.
You have
You have to guess.
You're guessing,
And it doesn't end up where it started. It's,
Hell no.
I mean, like it's basically a curveball if you're uninitiated to hitting.
Yeah.
Exactly. I actually personally think the NFL 1 yard gain is your best chance, even though it's not a great chance because, as Treasy mentioned,
Because you're a fat guy.
you start 7 yards back. And I
want that?
don't know if you guys have ever seen an NFL player up close, but I was at a club one time and I saw Lance Briggs. Lance Briggs, Treasy, is built like your refrigerator,
Holy fuck! I mean,
except he runs like a cheetah. I'd rather get hit by your car than get hit by Lance Briggs.
Well, he
But
drives
I
both.
think it's possible for
if you're on
the
Lakeshore
line
Drive, you could get hit by both.
I think it's possible for a line to part the sea long enough for me to dive and get 1 yard, as opposed to all these other things.
All right,
So I
I've
met
seen
Patrick
you dive.
Willis. If you remember Patrick Willis. Of the
Oh yeah, I
49ers.
do remember Patrick Willis.
So
yes.
they living in Appleton. The visiting team stays downtown in Appleton, and they travel up to Green Bay. And before they were loaded up with the bus, I, as a 49ers fan, wanted to meet them.
How
And
the fuck are you a 49ers?
long story. This podcast has been long enough.
Joe
and-
Montana
and-
has something to do with it.
Yep.
Steve Young.
Yep. And
One of
anyway,
those two
so
fuckers.
Willis comes out. I'm like, Mr. Willis, I'm a big fan of yours. Good luck today. And he's like, yeah, you know, thank you. He shook my hand, and I thought he broke my hand. And if you just watch Patrick Willis, like his highlights of what he hit people and tackled people, he's such a nice guy these days. But when he was on the field, like you mentioned, like that's the thing. I think you can get a 1 yard. But if you're going up against a middle linebacker that tackles you, you are done for life.
Yeah,
Well,
see,
that's the other
you
thing,
want to
too.
get down
Like,
on the ground
the
and hope
fear.
to not get hit.
The fear,
Fear.
like when you like,
Don't be the wall.
How do you not fumble? Like, how do you not fumble the ball the second you
like
get hit
when
by
you
a guy like
you
that?
get you run up, you get
So
the
you gotta
hand
hold
off,
the ball, too,
and then
so
you
you gotta get
look.
in that yard.
Unless you're just looking straight down and
Yeah.
just hoping for the best. If you look up,
You're dead.
you're terrified. You can't run because you can't run and shit your pants at the same time.
Oh, you can. I heard.
Congrats.
I heard.
So we're at like the 2:45 mark. We're gonna get to 3
Yeah.
hours anyways. So
insane.
for my last call, I'm gonna bring in the ladies because we were talking about this before, and I thought it was a really fun conversation.
Okay.
We were talking about dibs. So I want to go around the horn, and I want to get everyone's favorite dibs that they've ever seen out in public. So the people putting up dibs up, give us your favorite dibs. I'll start with my Sox Summer
Right.
because he lives in Bridgeport now. He's on the main streets of Bridgeport. Give us some crazy dibs you've seen.
I live next to a apartment building, and the guy that lives next door to us in the basement is a winemaker, and he uses all his wine.
Pinot.
Pinot. Pinot makes all his own wine, and he has a shitload of buckets. So Pinot uses all the buckets he has for the 7 spots that he has saved in front of my house. So I cannot park in front of my house because there are vino buckets everywhere.
I'd love to go next. I have actually seen a Chicago City horse being used as someone's dibs. Because when you live in Bridgeport, Bridgeporters steal everything. Street signs, whatever. And then you pull up to a parking spot. It's like, oh, there's actually a city horse that would block off an actual event in Chicago on some random person's spot so they can block for their car. So,
Kim?
So, just a little background about me. I am born on the South Side, but I spent most of my formative years in Northwest Indiana. And when you grow up in Northwest Indiana, your parents decide to send you to private school. So my first public...
Us too.
Yeah, my first public school was actually going to university. So I was raised with a lot of Catholic guilt. And the best dibs I've ever seen, I was driving to a friend's house, and she only had street parking, and it was a Jesus and a Virgin Mary that they strung Christmas lights between and like hooked the lights up to a battery pack or something.
You know this shit was in like February too.
Oh yeah. So that the lights actually turned on. And my Catholic guilt kicked in. I was like, this is the only spot, but I can't do it. I just cannot. They're watching me. I just can't.
Josh?
I don't have anything that provides Catholic guilt. I used to live in the Irving Park neighborhood. The only crazy thing, I mean, I saw buckets, but I actually did see someone bring out a folding table and actually open up the folding table and set 2 folding chairs next to it. So it's like, I don't know if there was some type of activity that was going to be happening in the street when they came by.
They were going to 108.
They were to 108.
Yeah.
There was either a sit-down or a heads-up poker game.
Yeah, exactly. Some type of poker game happening on Irving Park Road. But that was a great. It's just total random crap though. You would see all the time. Like some guy once had the orange cones, and then for whatever reason thought like a bowling ball would be a good idea to put it on top of it, thinking that this will weight it down. That nobody could pick up a 16-pound bowling ball and remove your orange cone.
I think the thing that I appreciate about dibs more than the concept of it is just how creative people are and the crap that they put out in their designated parking spot, right?
It's amazing. Like it's like, why do you still have this thing if you don't use it anymore and you're willing to let it get destroyed? But I'm going to keep it. And so that brings me to mind. Once again, I'm going to hark back to the music days. And I was walking to work. I lived in Bridgeport, and the label I worked at was on Lithuanic, which is a weird kind of side street because it only goes for so long. And I'm walking to work, and I see a parking spot being held by a actual baby's crib. And I swear to God, I had to I had to look in it because I was like, do I need to call the fire department or something? What do we got here? And it was just some guy just was like, you know what? Don't need this crib anymore. I'll just put my baby on the floor because the car needs a spot. And I was totally fucking confused by it.
I'm just imagining like the yard sales coming up, and hon, did you put the crib out? That's my dibs crib.
My dibs crib.
We should sell that.
108 dibs crib.
You guys can have that one for free. I won't charge you for it.
We appreciate that.
No, we'll got you. We'll buy Josh some fucking ice cream sundaes at the game and make up for it.
Yeah, there we go.
I eat one ice cream sundae. Sticks with me forever.
I'm going to tell you guys something that you will not believe. We are clocking in
At 3
under
hours.
3 hours.
Yes,
under
we made
3
it.
hours. So
By 4 minutes?
I am going to end this
Saga.
saga of drinking and
Trilogy.
telling Rick Hahn to go fuck himself.
I love Rick.
Calm down.
Anyway.
All right, so to end it, I do really want to thank you, Josh. It is extremely cold out, and you guys came out and
No problem.
just imparted such awesome content for us. I mean, like I couldn't even come up with half the shit that you told us today if you gave me 15 years inside a baseball reference
To make it up.
I really appreciate it. I think we all do. And,
For sure.
Absolutely.
I really look forward to all the stuff we're going to do this year. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a fucking
2019
awesome
is gonna be
time.
fun.
It's going to be crazy.
Year.
Yeah.
And people just stay tuned because we are going to be out and about. We're going to have a lot of events. We're going to have some road watches. We're going to have some panels. We're going to do all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
And I'm going to be swimming in Goose Island just before you know it. So
Yes.
make sure to come out to the games. Follow all of us on Twitter, on YouTube, on all social media, and make sure to listen to the SoxMachine podcast. It is much shorter than this and much
Yes.
more informative. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you later.
Peace out.